2+2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, Kevmath and Greg Mueller with WSOP advice and more. Now, here they are, two guys hoping not to get kicked off their next flight for playing OFC. Adam and Terrence.
Welcome to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. I am your host, A. Schwartz, not alongside Mr. T. Chan and Roscoe P. Coltrane.
We are beside each other. We are beside each other, though.
Mm-hmm. We've changed places.
You have.
I've stolen a producer from you.
I'm in Hong Kong with Terrence.
Yeah, exactly.
And Adam's in Maple Ridge.
No, Adam's in Hong Kong and we're in Maple Ridge. I think that's what happened.
The intro off the top, guys, hilarious story this week of a math professor. He's an Ivy League professor, I believe, getting
that is
kicked off an airplane for doing math.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was kind of dark-skinned, and I think he had a beard. So, it was a totally reasonable thing for them to just assume that he was, an Arab terrorist, just a radical Muslim. I believe he had an Italian name. Looking at it, right now. So he's. I love it. The Washington Post rather describes him as a 40-year-old man with dark curly hair, olive skin, and an exotic foreign accent. So he was doing math, and the lady next to him on the plane, she tries to make polite. I remember the story. She tries to make polite conversation with her right off the top, oh, what are you going to Chicago or whatever it is for, and she and he kind of ignores her, gives her some really gruff answer, and goes back to writing in his book, and it's like, what do you do? And the dude's like, whatever. He's like, stop talking to me, you crazy fucking bitch. I'm trying to do work here, and he's scribbling in his book, and I guess he's probably doing some algebra that this woman is too dumb. And then what happened? I love the code, by the way, that happens too. Is that what happens? This is obviously she gets up and reports to the flight attendant or whoever, I think
she writes on a piece of paper.
Oh, that's right.
A note and hands it to the guy.
yeah, exactly. And
she was like,
math is idiotic.
And then the stewardess comes over. The flight attendant comes over later and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you think you're still too sick to fly, or do you think you're okay?" And then the woman actually goes, "I'm okay," but then. So I guess she didn't really have enough reason to ground the plane or whatever. She didn't feel I'm sure there's some reasonable part of her that says I'm being stupid and paranoid or whatever. But then American Airlines, the pilot or whoever, whatever flight crew decides, oh yeah, this guy's totally a terrorist risk. And so they end up interrogating him for an hour or some shit like that. It was insanity. And then he explains oh yeah, I'm an economist. I'm doing. I think he is a professor in math, and yeah, he's. Well,
the problem seems here that the airline company, the pilot, the stewardess, they have no downside for just automatically saying, "Oh yeah, this passenger has a concern. She doesn't want to fly. Maybe we should just stop." Because if for whatever 1 in a trillion chance that this guy is actually...
Except they look like fucking morons, but yeah, I mean...
Well, the pilot doesn't, because they could just say it's our protocol. The stewardess looks like a moron, kind of, I guess.
I guess, but I mean, this blows up. I mean, we're reading about it, we're talking about it.
But the lady is the one who looks really bad, right?
She does, except, we don't have her name. Mm-hmm. I'm reading this whole article, nobody said her name or anything. It's us all American Airlines, that it was an American Airlines flight. And I don't even know if the woman is the dumbest person in this case, because the stewardess came over and said, are you feeling sick enough? Wink, wink. Are you feeling too sick to fly? And she actually said, no, I'm good. Let's go. And then so they decide, oh well, there's you said the 1 in a trillion chance that that he's scribbling bomb prayers or whatever it is they do on planes before they're doing bomb math, and the dumb retards. Yeah. So Bill Chen tweeted this week. So he tweeted, should I inform? So am I supposed to inform the flight attendant that I'm going to do math on this flight?
Because Bill, by the way, if he looked at all, if he had a beard, If he grew a beard, I don't know if he could grow
Sometimes,
a beard.
no, he definitely, he shaves very regularly, so he never gets too shaggy with the facial hair for whatever reason, even though his hair gets
So I can
awfully
see
shaggy.
Bill sitting down next to somebody and spending 5 hours on a math problem, and if some lady's like, hey, what are you doing? Bill would be like, leave me alone. I'm busy or whatever. Like, he would be totally that gruff guy.
Yeah. Especially if he's really in the zone, right? And you think most brilliant people really are, right? Like, if you've ever watched really, truly brilliant people at work, whether they're, engineers or mathematicians or writers or whatever, like, we hear the stories about, like, Hollywood actors, like, don't bother me when I'm on set, like, that kind of thing. Like, when people are really world class at whatever it is they do, they don't want to fucking small talk from the idiot next to them on the plane, right? Like, this is how, like you and I, we're never going to be that level of person where we're so in the zone with what we're doing, and because we're not us. We're not that world class at what we're doing. I mean, even you look at like the idiosyncrasies of the best players in our field, like the people like Phil Ivey, right? Like you talk about Phil Ivey's intensity, and he's notoriously difficult to interview, and people, he doesn't want to do interviews, and they're often not very good even when he does them. It's when people have this sort of drive and focus, they don't want to talk to your stupid soccer mom, like, to listen about your kids and your stupid, oh yes, well, I work in accounting for such as, oh, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm trying to do real work here. That's what this guy is doing. Like, just, oh man.
And I'd rather hear about the accounting job than do real work. So
exactly, like, people like us will never, but at least I'm self-aware to know that I'm not that kind of person who's just, like, so in the zone that because I'm not world class at anything, but I'm aware that there is that 0.1, that 1% of the 1% that does do real work, and I know enough to leave them the hell alone when they're doing it.
Do we have the only full-length interview with Phil Ivey that exists? I mean, I think we did, I want to say 40 minutes with him a few years ago. That might be the record. Yeah, I mean, he's probably done a lot of 5-minute tournament break interviews, but I can't think of any Phil Ivey interview that's that long. I remember he did the Life of Ivey on Poker Road for a while, but it was it wasn't really an interview.
They just kind of followed him around.
Yeah. But anyway,
well, actually, I'm throwing it up there. So I just Googled Phil Ivey interview, and there's something that's 52 minutes on YouTube, but I doubt it's all him just being interviewed. No, it's not. There's a bunch of other people, like, jumping around in here. So
he did that. What was it? 60
minutes.
If he was 15 minutes.
15 of the 60 minutes. Yeah.
That interview with Phil is probably in my top 5 of most fun shows that we did.
Yeah. I mean, were you nervous before you did it?
I was, and I've never really been. The only other time I think I was nervous was with Howard Letter when we did the 3.5 hour interview, only because I wanted to make sure I was prepared.
You had to get it right. You had to do it justice.
I wasn't really worried about what Howard thought or anything. But Phil, you just don't want to. I mean, it's such a golden opportunity. You don't get it very often. If he just gets pissed off at some question and hangs up on you, like you don't want that to happen. So it was, and the way it all broke down, like negotiating, getting the interview. The day, even like 10 minutes before it was, I don't know, 30% chance of actually happening. He was in bed, and his handler is like, I don't think he's going to do it. It was just like, oh God, please, we've got this all prepared. And it was a lot of fun.
That show still gets a lot of downloads to this day.
Does it really?
Every week, there's always double-digit downloads.
Yeah, and that goes to how rare an interview with Phil Ivey is. It's definitely like a unicorn.
If you want to go back and listen to it, pokercast.2plus2.com in the archives.
Yep.
Yeah, it's listed in there. Speaking of Pokercast at 2plus2.com, we're all waiting with bated breath for episode 3 of All In or Knocked Out. Can you give us an update on how we're doing with that?
We're working on it. We've scripted it and we've voiced it. Ross is in just the final stages of editing it up. So we should have it. Early next week for sure.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely, it'll be finished this weekend.
And episode 3 will sort of be the last one that sort of has a lot of. I don't want to say too much, but it'll sort of be the last of its type, because 4 and 5 are going to be, the day of the fight, and we're going to have a lot of really fun stuff, kind of piecing together those bits of audio from the fight. So it'll be less talk, more action, and we'll sort of see how it goes. Maybe like a sort of Radio Lab style kind of show. Nice. So we'll get you some new content out soon. But
I just closed out or cleaned up on my podcast list, and I added Radio Lab in there. hadn't listened to it for a long time, added it back in, and cleaned a whole bunch out that I wasn't really listening to. But that got me to thinking of this article that you tweeted this week about the paradox of choice. And it's this thing that people had long thought where if you give people too much choice, they're sort of paralyzed by all the options, and they don't really respond very well. And it turns
16
out
different types of dish soap. You go to the dish soap aisle, the 16 different types of dish soap. Which one do I get? Do I get lemon? Do I get lavender? Or whatever. You go to the dog food section, the exact same thing happens. This is decision paralysis. Or you go to the restaurant and you just can't decide between like 4 things that all look really good. And so the sort of idea is that the paradox of choice leads people to actually make fewer choices. One example that ended up being tweeted at me, I can't remember who it was from right away, but they were saying that on Netflix, they end up just kind of giving up on Netflix. They mean to sit down and watch TV, but they can't ever decide what to actually watch on Netflix, and then they just end up watching nothing, which, I mean, sometimes that happens. I
think we've all spent like half an hour deciding.
Yeah, exactly, which is really interesting because Netflix spends so much money trying to guess what it is that we're interested in. And so, that's the sort of thing. But, I guess new research came out, and you can look at my Twitter timeline for it at T-Chan Poker. The sort of idea was that, this may actually be a fallacy, that the paradox of choice may not actually exist because there are, the reason why supermarkets and companies spend so much money developing these really diverse product lines is it's actually they know exactly what they're doing. They know that you have trouble deciding which one to get, but they know that you will eventually get one, I guess is the kind of thing. I mean, you might go to the corner store or the grocery store and thinking like, I have no idea which one of these 12 olive oils I'm supposed to choose, but you will eventually pick one. And so I guess it's just a numbers game of having those olive oils available so that your olive oil gets purchased. Or the example that I really enjoyed from the article was, I don't remember, I think it was Cuisinart. It
was a bread maker, right?
Oh, it was the Cuisinart bread maker. And they basically came out with this bread maker for $250, and it just wasn't selling. It wasn't selling at all, and they didn't know why. It was like, this is a perfectly good bread maker. So what they decided to do in their clever marketing department, so they had this $250 bread maker, is they released this like $450 bread maker and, added on a few bells and whistles. And the point was not to sell the $450 bread maker because, anybody who went to the store was just like, well, I don't need all this. But then they ended up buying the $250 bread maker because they were just thinking, well, I don't need the fancy bread maker, but, I would like this one, and so, this is also another example of what psychologists would call anchoring, right? Like, so if you get anchored to the higher price of $450 now, $250 seems like more of a bargain. Whereas if you only had a $250 bread maker, somebody might go, I'm not going to pay, like, I buy bread at the store for $3 or whatever it is, I'm not going to buy a $250 bread maker. But if you make a bunch of expensive bread makers, now all of a sudden a $250 bread maker seems very exciting, and the sales of the $250 bread maker did a lot better. So, it's just an interesting way. Like, humans can be sort of manipulated in a lot of interesting ways, especially when it comes to buying things. Like the science of marketing people and their ability to trick people's psychology. I mean, Netflix is another example, right? Like just why does Netflix spends all this money just trying to figure out what the next thing you want to watch on TV is? Amazon spends all its money trying to figure out what the next thing you want to buy is, and Facebook spends all its money trying to figure out the next thing you want to click on, and and who you want to become friends with, and how to upload your photos. So and it's too much for our little monkey brains to handle, really. It's just companies are with these budgets are just going to be smarter than decals.
A couple of quick updates. The World Series of Poker Fantasy League, the Pokercast Fantasy League, is getting decent numbers. We're up to 21, I think, Ross. Head on over to the forum.
22 if your email starts with Gman Jr., tell me who you are on 2+2, and that goes along with everybody else. If you send money to me, make sure to PM me and tell me where you sent it from, your star's name, or your email, so that I know who you are, and we can get you in the league.
Otherwise, you're just going to rub that on your breast.
Yeah.
So that's $20, and head on over, sign up, enjoy the WorldSeriesOfPoker.com by taking down our World Series of Poker Fantasy League. Quick traffic court update.
Ooh.
I've got...
We need a drop for this one.
Yeah, I got a court date on
Traffic
Monday.
gate?
Traffic gate. Court date for one of my other tickets on Monday morning, so... I'm going to try and push it off.
Well,
again.
based on what happened, last time, you should push it off. Or you should just show up today and do it. Basically, as soon as we stop recording the show, you show up and just surprise the cop and see if you can pull this thing off. Yeah,
bomb rush them. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. And but Violent Femmes are coming to town. I don't know. You guys not Violent Femme fans, are you?
I know the name.
I mean. I know what those two words mean.
It's not Ronda Rousey.
Oh, okay. And then I'm not confused. Yeah, she is a very violent femme.
She is. And a long time ago, we used to have a listener who was a roadie for them for years. And I remember he emailed me, and we were talking back and forth on email, but I can't find it. So.
Is roadie a profession, or is it actually...
Depends on how big the band is you're doing it for.
So it could refer to just somebody who's just like a clinger, or it can also refer to somebody who has a real job.
If you're touring with the Rolling Stones, that's a career roadie, I would think.
Right.
But if it's your friend's garage band,
right, not quite a career.
Yeah.
No, indeed. So I'll be checking that gig out. All right, so let's get on to some poker stuff. It is May 12th. This is Pokercast 409. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up today. We got Kevmath's going to come in and talk about the World Series of Poker. I thought it might be fun to get Kev's take on, kind of the Kevmath guide to the World Series of Poker for the weekend warrior type guys. These are people who come into Vegas for the World Series, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days, have a couple of thousand, and aren't particularly, they have regular jobs, so this isn't their bankroll. If they get to play some events and have some fun, then they're fine. So Kevmath, of course, is the Minister for Information over at the WorldSeriesOfPoker.com. He's actually going to get paid for it this year. And he's starting up, I think, at the end of the month. So we're going to bring him in, talk to him about his tips on where to go and what to do in Vegas during the World Series. Also, we're going to be joined by Mr. Greg Mueller.
He's Canadian.
The FBT is going to come in and give us a bit more of a high roller take on the World Series. Maybe a poker player is going for a few weeks. Greg's always there, 2-time bracelet winner. He's at the World Series playing the cash games, playing the tournaments. So he's dialed in. We're going to talk.
If you don't see him, you'll hear him in the room. Even if you can't see him in the room, you're going to hear him.
We'll just look for the masseuse because he's getting a massage 24 hours a day. Basically.
Or the light reflecting off his head.
Oh, wow. Right. You shots fired.
But we've got an Internet Poker's Wall of Fame. Ross, you've done one up, haven't you?
I have.
Right.
I enjoyed putting this one together. So, the choice, or the inductee, he definitely has earned his spot here. It's Michael Thuritz, a Swedish crusher who kind of is under the radar. You might not know who he is. He's Chow Ren 160 on PokerStars and Punting Peddler on Full Tilt Poker back in the day.
Yeah.
Mikkel. He's one of the first crushers from Sweden. He's got 1.7 million in live earnings, although the live earnings aren't even slightly as impressive as staying at the top of the online cash game food chain for over a decade. He first appeared on the Virtual Felt back in 2002. He is also not just a talent in one single variety of poker. He plays every game expertly. Even today, like literally this morning, he was sitting waiting to play people at 1K, 2K, 8 game. That is the biggest game offered on PokerStars. He won the prestigious 10K Heads Up No Limit tournament last year in W Coop, beating a field of the best, and beating the other No Limit boss for Haley in the final round to win the title. In an interview late last year, Mikhail said that he is playing more PLO these days, but he's a little worried that he is at a disadvantage against the players with HUDs. So this leads me to believe that he's made it this far without using a HUD, which means that he must be very intelligent and figured out a lot of things on the fly. He was also one of the first online grinders to hear about the games in Macau and go over there and play the highest stakes games in the world. He's talking about playing as high as $4,000, $8,000 US in Macau.
Wow.
Mikhail is an easy choice for the IPWOF, clearly proving that he's got what it takes to be a predator in the high stakes waters for longer than nearly anyone that's playing today. welcome to the IPWOF, Mikhail Thuritz.
Internet poker.
Nice. I like that entry. We've got a bunch of people. We're going to get caught up, get a lot of those guys up on the website, pictures and such. It'll be fun to have Mikhail on the show. I don't think we ever had him. So.
He seems like he's gettable. He's English isn't his first language, but hopefully we could get him. All right.
How did he miss the open goal? 6 by 4, and he comes up 0.
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it!
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
In case you missed it, last week when we were doing the show, the final table of the EPT Season 12 Grand Finale main event in Monte Carlo was underway. We talked about who was left. The winner was EPT veteran Jan Bendik. Slovakian took down 961,000 euros for winning the main event. And congrats to him. Just wanted to get that one quick. And in case you missed it, Scoop 2016 is underway. Lots of big names, of course, holed up in their rooms and their pee bottles, playing internet pokers for a couple of weeks.
Synchronized breaks. Come on. There's no pee bottles on synchronized breaks. What year is this? Yeah.
Indeed. So that's good. Yeah. But 2016 Scoop going. Event number 6 was the first one that caught my eye. This was the wow. Okay, you got to get ready for this. The high version, the $2,100 six max no limit 08 progressive KO event.
Zoom. Don't forget it. No, it wasn't Zoom.
That one wasn't Zoom.
That's a mouthful. Very impressive you got through that.
Mr. Full Flush, Luke Schwartz, takes that down. He did win 2 Scoop titles last year. This win puts him at 5 total Scoop titles for his career, tying Mr. Sean Deeb, and one behind the man with the most Scoop titles, that is Calvin Anderson. Luke beats out 144 other entrants to take down the $32,000 for first. Speaking of Sean Deeb, for his part, he almost pulled off a T-Chan in event number 3. I don't know if you saw this, Terrence.
No, I did not.
In the no-limit draw event, he finished 6th in the low version that had 1,622 entrants and got 5th in the $2,100 high version that had 51 events. Now, almost, it might not be the right word. You won 2 of them. He came 6th and 5th.
I think it's safe to say, though, if anybody is going to do that, what I did, Sean is really, really up there because, I mean, he loves playing all of these. Well, first he plays everything, and then he plays, every event. And then, he does well in a lot of these sort of more exotic variants, like draw and that sort of thing. I mean, just... going back to what you said about Luke Schwartz, I would have guessed that 145 people would have even entered a $2,000 no-limit Omaha high-low event, like a game that basically does not exist in the real world, right?
No.
And then you get 145 people putting up $2,000 for it. It's pretty amazing. So.
You know what's cool about this, though, is it's a bunch of poker players who've never... you can't say, yeah, I'm not going to play that event because there's people with huge advantages on me.
Right.
Well, because the game doesn't get played.
I'm sure there are 4 or 5 people who are just really, really good at it. But
I think so. Maybe. I'd be surprised.
I think so. I think there's. I mean, and I think a lot of people do have experience in the game. For whatever way they do, and then other people just have really good understanding of poker theory. I mean, if people didn't have advantages at it, then there wouldn't be professional poker players, right? It's not just it's just not a pure experience
where
thing.
People can think they have an advantage because I play
Certainly.
Omaha 8 or better, so I can play this game.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's completely
and truth is, if you do play pot limit if you play pot limit Omaha 8 or better pretty well, you're probably going to understand the fundamental principles of no limit, and make the according adjustments when you're able to overbet the pot. But I mean, that's clearly the skill set that's the closest.
Just for those that don't know, when I say pulling off a Terrence Chan, I don't know if we've probably got a bunch of new listeners to the show, but was it 4 or 5 years ago you won the limit hold'em high and medium in the same days? Was it?
Yeah,
4 or 5 years
I
ago?
think it was 2009. I want to say.
Oh,
so,
it's
yeah.
that long ago. Last 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. There's a lot of dust gathered on those Scoop watches.
You would think that back in like these days that fields would be bigger, but I think that Sean Deeb's fields were probably smaller than the Limit Hold'em fields that you played.
There were 99 players in the high. I remember that, and I think about 500 and something in the medium.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously he played the low, which had 1,600, and then the 2,100 high only had 51. So that one's, there still are, as lower, as declining a game as Limit Hold'em is, it still hasn't quite declined to the level of No Limit Draw quite yet.
I mentioned Calvin Anderson there with 6 titles. He finished 4th in the medium No Limit Draw, the one that Sean didn't go deep in. So he's still around and kicking around trying to win his 7th scoop bracelet. James Obst, known as, of course, Andy McLeod online, he pulled off a pretty amazing feat this year in Scoop, and that is Event 11, the high version of the $2,100 PLO 6 Max. He ends up beating out 243 others to win the $155,000 first place prize, but the reason why it's pretty amazing is he won the exact same event last year, which is pretty cool to come back and defend it. And when you're playing the high version of PLO 6 Max, you're playing against some really good players. You don't kind of luck that one out. So.
Correction, I think that it was actually the 1K rebuy.
Last year.
This year and last year that he won.
Oh, event.
The 1K PLO rebuy.
Oh, sorry. Did I? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that
is correct.
But still, pretty amazing feat to pull off back-to-back years.
Oh, yeah. Still just the best of the best. Yeah. And Jason Somerville was streaming, and he got, I think, like 10th or something.
Huh.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Ops knocked him out.
A min cash in that tournament for a 1K buy-in was like 8K.
Jason didn't even play PLO?
A little bit.
Apparently.
He's got good fundamental theory, I think, in pretty much all the games.
All right.
And our buddy, Mr. Buck21, Sean Buchanan, he takes down event 14 high, the $2,100. Here we go again. Okay, the $2,100 high version of the No Limit Omaha 8 or better 6 Max Turbo Zoom to win his 6th Coop title.
How mad are you at Brian Slick right now?
Yeah, no kidding. I texted Sean today and asked him, because there was an article written, I mentioned Sean, that's his 6th Coop title, but in the same article, I think it said 4th and 6th. So I wasn't sure. I think there might have been a typo there, and I texted Sean, and I said, which one is this? And he's like, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe? I can't remember.
I doubt he would know.
He has no clue. So I thought that was kind of funny.
They don't show up in your cashier page, so he wouldn't know.
Scoop, of course, ongoing. This is just the first. It started Sunday, so we're 5 days in.
Yeah, I played a couple during the week. I played some of those ones that have like a 5 a.m. start, and I late registered in them. But I played so bad. I'm just so embarrassed. I have this like. You talked about Scoop last week when we had Brian on, and the timing is always the thing that I enjoy the most about Scoop, because it's right before the World Series, and I'm in Vancouver, and it's beautiful spring days here, and it's a nice sort of warm up for the World Series. You got lots of different variants. You got lots of different buy-ins. So it's sort of the time. Usually I haven't been playing poker around this time of year. It's usually a good time for me to get back in. And so I just decided to jump in. But I feel like a bunch. I think I played 4 tournaments. I think like 3 of them, like I just played really well for a little while and then just was a moron, and it's just created this like crisis of conscious where I don't even know whether I want to play poker again, because it's such a shitty.
What did you do?
No, I mean no, it's not like it's not like end of the world mistakes, but it's just sort of these things where I've always had an identity of myself as a poker player, and one that I think plays well, but I'm just realizing like these mistakes they're like when even making like medium-sized mistakes puts you under the gun so much, and it's so hard now. And I'm just not a full-time poker player, and I struggle because I don't have the hands under my belt on a consistent enough places to just consistently make good decisions for hour after hour after hour, which is what you have to do in tournament poker. When I play cash, as soon as I start feeling myself not focusing and not playing well, I just stop. I get up and leave. And so these are the kinds of things where it's like, well, can I really play good poker for 10 hours straight? And the answers to that I'm asked, like the answer when I ask myself that is not an answer that I like. So it's just
You don't think you can?
I don't know. Maybe I can, but maybe I have to get back into the groove. Maybe I just maybe it just have to be a matter of putting in volume and getting back on the horse and playing a lot of events. But it's also hard. I train a lot, and I'm usually tired. When I'm playing, like, a lot of the time. So I'm mentally tired. I'm physically tired. So it's a question of, like, well, if I have to make a decision of whether it's like 9 o'clock and I can hop in the last late registration, or I could go for a jog or something like that. And these are the decisions that I kind of have to make, and I just have to decide whether my identity is still as a poker player. And it's tough for me. I don't know what to do now, because I have a hard time. It's like I say, I just didn't feel like I played really well. It's not like I played atrociously. It's not like I forgot how to play. It's just that, in the moment, not quite fully running through all the range of hands that this guy could have, all the various lines that I could potentially take on a hand. It's just it's a little overwhelming for me, because I'm used to being, I'm used to just having kind of high standards for myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that it's something that it's like doing anything at a high level. Even if you're playing like a video game, if you haven't played it in a few months, like, you're going to be a little rusty. Yeah. So I think it just takes some practice.
Yeah, I mean, there were clear things. Like, I misread a hand. Like, in the very first orbit, I think of, I think it was the half no limit, half PLO, and it was like the medium or something like that. I just missed that I had made a straight on the river, and I just checked behind in position. And the guy went kind of crazy in chat, and he was like, question mark, and then I never say anything like I misread my hand. I never say I misread my hand. Yeah. I always so what I said this one was straights are unlucky. Because if somebody thinks I'm an idiot, I want them to keep thinking I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
there's no reason. And then I was playing 8-game the other day, just a cash game, and you remember last week, and this is so ironic, that we told Brian Slick that I wanted a more confusing variant, because I figured the only chance I would have is just for other people to forget what game it was.
Right.
And then so I end up calling down in stud high low rather, thinking it was stud high with like just a naked pair of sixes, and end up getting like scooped by like sevens and a 7 low. And then when I saw that there's this sort of animation that pushes the high pot and then the low pot, and then I just saw that, I'm like, fuck, I was playing stud high low, and I just just all these kind of things that it's really frustrating. I'm never frustrated by bad beats. I mean, obviously everybody's frustrated to some extent by bad beats. I'm really frustrated when I don't play to the level that I think I should be playing at.
Fair enough. Melancholy Chan.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis. Maybe you're going to go and buy a Bentley or something like that.
Yeah. Well, with what money? I didn't win anything. I'm certainly not going to win anything. I'm just going to have to just go to the gym and get choked by people. Like, that's what I spent the rest of the week doing.
Just take the masochist approach.
Yeah, exactly. I have to punish myself by being choked by dudes twice my size.
So we're going to do the show a little out of order. We've got a lot more in case you missed it to get to. We've got tons of emails, bunch of hands too. I played a scoop event. I got a hand from there. Also, a 8-game Omaha 8 or better hand. I know Ross has some hands, and Terrence, you have a hand as well, right?
I believe so, from that very same tournament.
Yeah, we're going to be heavy strategy in that last segment. So right now we're going to bring in Mr. Kevin Mathers, and we're going to talk about the World Series of Poker, and then we'll get back to some more in case you missed it later. This is the man who knows the World Series of Poker better than the people who run the World Series of Poker. He's the Poker World's very own resource community manager over at Pocket Fives. Kevmath, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on the show again.
No problem. You're heading over to the dark side. You're going to be Minister of Information over at the World Series of Poker.com.
The czar. Right, he's the czar.
That's right. The czar.
What is the czar? That's like an old, outdated Russian term. Come on.
Well, I mean, there's like drug czars, and there's still czars out there. They're just like government.
They just don't rule Russia anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. They've moved on.
Yeah. Now they do social media.
Exactly. So basically, that's going to be my role for 8 weeks in Las Vegas this summer.
So, Kevin, there's a lot of people, I mean, A. Schwartz among them, who really kind of rallied behind the idea of you working for the World Series. And I think a lot of that stemmed from two reasons. Number one, you're one of the most beloved people in the online poker community for all you've done for so many years for free, and people thought, well, you should probably get a paycheck from this as well. But there's also been some missteps with respect to social media and the World Series of Poker. Can you talk a little bit about how it came to be be that you became hired by the World Series to do social media?
Sure. Yeah, I think it sort of started during the main event last year when Jack Effel, the tournament director of the WSOP, he actually we sort of had a little discussion during the main event because, like you said, they've had issues in the past when certain people have control of the WSOP account. Things don't go as planned. I guess they say things that they don't mean to, or they retweet stuff they don't mean. They retweet stuff they meant to like, et cetera, et cetera. People get blocked, people get muted. It's so basically Jack had, because he'd seen I had done all this stuff, last year and years before, basically helping them answer questions, not getting anything for it, obviously. But I mean, that's whatever. So they sort of had there was talk that maybe for this year that they would hire me, basically to help run the Twitter account and do sort of do the same sort of like what I've been doing in the past. And it was sort of something that was in like the back of my mind. And this was like before what happened at Bluff when Bluff got shut down. So it was sort of like, I mean, I sort of was like, I needed to find another job. And fortunately, I got one relatively quickly with Pocket Fives. So fast forward to about a couple of months ago, and there was one thing that sort of sparked me from talking to the WSP again was there's a parody Joe McKean account out there.
Is there?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
How do you have a parody of a parody account?
That's a good question, but there was a parody account that tweeted at WSOP.
Okay.
And they responded to the account basically, like so-called champ, and it's like they thought it was because it said Joe McKean, but it's not. It's like you take off a letter from the account, from Joe's account,
right?
You get this parody account. So they apparently they saw Joe McKean and decided to respond back to him, and then Joe McKean made a comment. The actual Joe McKean made a comment, basically like along the lines of his rant from a couple of weeks later, but about nobody's trying. And it was sort of like that. Sort of like I figured, I mean, it was sort of something where I figured they may need some help again this summer. And, so I DM'd Jack on Twitter, and we had a bit of a discussion. And I talked with Seth Polanski, and we worked out some details. And I got to make sure to get approval from my boss, Lance Bradley at Pocket Fives, and he said yes, and here we are.
So give us an idea what it's going to be like for you last year and the past years in the World Series of Poker.com. You've pretty much answered any question. Well, you have answered any question thrown at you, including is there a live stream 4,000 times. But are you going to be doing basically what you've been doing before, or is this sort of an expanded role where you're going to handle everything for the World Series?
The role on the WSP account is to answer all the, basically answer as many of the WSP questions. People ask the WSP all the time. Like you said, live stream, what's a strike, how long is late reg, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's certain things that are probably going to be above my pay grade that will be forwarded to Jack, Seth, Ty, et cetera. Basically things like about wire transfers, stuff like the cage, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I'll be doing most of the stuff that goes to WSP, I'll be answering. And there's going to be others. I'm going to have my Kevmath account, still using that. Obviously, I don't plan to be using it as much, but there's other stuff in Vegas that goes on during the summer, and people have questions about that. And obviously, the WSP doesn't want me to answer questions about what's going on at the Venetian,
sure,
or any other property in Vegas that has a poker tournament this year.
Are you going to be manning the at Kevmath account as well, or is that going to be shut down?
No, they'll still. I'll be still running the Kevmath account, and I also have the at WSP Czar account, which is basically going to be my goal. Is I created it's basically a renaming of the account I had last year called it was at Kevmath WSP, which basically was just tweet information. It wasn't like answering questions. So like here's a table draw for this event. Here's a structure sheet for this event that starts today. It's that was basically the purpose of that particular account because and it was sort of hopefully it was the hope was that people wouldn't ask me the same questions over and over, and that didn't exactly.
Anyway.
So that's going to be the account that you want to follow. Like if people don't have specific questions but they want to get updates, and that's probably the first place they should look to get where their day 2 table draw is, or how late registration is closed, or what the daily deep stack, what's going on with the daily deep stack today, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's basically like that's the account where there's not going to be hundreds of tweets. I mean, I'm not going to be answering questions on that account.
Right.
It's sort of like if people are going to I know people will still ask at that account, but then I'll probably just either answer from the WSOP or Kevmath account as warranted.
So it's sort of the you need to know this kind of account will be
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
What's your plan for being there? I'm not sure that you need to be at the World Series to answer all these questions, but maybe it would be good to be there because there'll be some things maybe that you see that you might not have seen had you been still in Atlanta.
Yeah, I will be at the WSOP starting from May 29th through July 21st. I'll be staying at the Rio all summer. So I was offering to stay at the extended stay down the street, but they decided to bump me up to the Rio. So I'm not gonna object to that, obviously. So
is that a bump up? I'm not sure.
No,
kidding.
In a sense.
It's not the what's the one that I'm thinking of that Paulie McGuire wrote about? It's not the.
That's the.
Oh, that is the extended stay. Okay.
That was the Redneck Riviera.
The Redneck Riviera. It's an incredible read, by the way, for those people who haven't read that. Yeah. But it's, I think, the 2007 World Series where he stays there and he's just tripping over crack addicts and prostitutes on the way in the door. His air conditioning doesn't work in June. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's improved a little bit since then, but yeah, it does sort of have that reputation.
Kev, we have a lot of listeners who listen to the show that are sort of casual poker players. I think a lot of them are going to many of them are going to head to the World Series of Poker, maybe for, that 3, 4, 5 day stretch, take some time off, maybe a day or two off around the weekend. Weekend warriors, I guess you could call them, who going to head off to Vegas and try and play some poker tournaments. Maybe, they can take $3,000 or $4,000 and have a shot at some events, and it's not going to kill them if they go broke and come home like it would if he was a professional poker player type thing. So I wanted to bring you in and get some opinions, given that you are the guy who knows the World Series of Poker and tournaments in Vegas. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what you think those people should do to maximize their sort of experience at the World Series of Poker, be it. Of course, everybody's different. They're going to have some people are going to enjoy the cash games a little more than tourneys. Some people are going to go there and just strictly play tournaments. But maybe give us an overall sort of feel on what you think these people, how they should go about maximizing their experience.
A very good question, and I think it is going to sort of depend on. I think it's going to depend on several factors. One is how much they're going to bring, obviously.
Sure.
Where they're staying. Because there's we've seen over the past 3 or 4 years now the explosion of poker series during the summer that complement the World Series of Poker. There's 8 or 9 rooms out in Vegas that will have a big series this summer. So people obviously are gravitating towards the WSOP, but there will be people that you sort of expect they'll stay downtown, they're going to stay on the Strip, and there's definitely options available for those players as well. Yeah, I think one thing that people should do is they should get the Kenny Heller spreadsheet of Vegas tournaments.
Oh, right.
And that's at bit.ly.com/WSOP 2016, and WSOP is in caps. That's it has to be in caps, but that's his spreadsheet of all the tournaments that are running this summer.
Oh, cool. We'll put that link up in the show thread.
And there's and I think that's really people should. I think what people sometimes they don't. I've seen a lot of pros basically say they don't look at the schedule. They just they show up. They're just going to wake up and they're going to go somewhere and play a tournament. And I think for the for the casual player, I think it's as much preparation. I think it's key to be prepared of what you want to play. At least to see what's out there, and if you want to play, if you want to play at Planet Hollywood, or you want to play the Venetian or the Aria, at least to see, having the spreadsheet that I mentioned would be certainly a key to see. There may be some, like Golden Nugget will have the event. Like Golden Nugget is like one of those series that's going to have a lot of mixed game events. Right. I'm not sure how much there will be on the weekends, obviously, because it is the weekend. You sort of get more people are going to come out for. Exactly. So, but if you're coming during the week, it's Golden Nugget, Planet Hollywood's going to have a few mixed events. I know people. There's a lot of people that don't like the Venetian, but they do have their share of they're going to have their big series each summer. I know people don't. There's definitely a lot of people in the poker community that will not play at the Venetian, and I can certainly understand that. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that will show up, and that's. I mean, I know we all have our opinions of Sheldon Adelson, but some people
don't care.
Don't care. I mean,
right.
And that's their prerogative. I mean, I'm not gonna people will suggest boycott. I mean, it's your decision. You can vote with your feet, and there's not like the Venetian is not the only place out there. There's plenty of other options out there that you can go. There's plenty of tournaments, and you can just avoid the Venetian as if you want.
Yeah, let's talk about. I think one of the key things they think about, this person who's going there is probably going to stick their nose into a $1K or a $1,500 World Series of Poker event. Part of the reason they want to go there is the dream of binking a bracelet and coming home as a champion. So getting into those events, blasting off 40% of what you bring to get in there. A lot of people will do it because that's why they're there. But there might be better ways to go about, spending some time to try and win that money. Whether it's through satellites or playing the daily deep stacks, different ways to get some money together to jump into these bigger World Series of Poker events. The deep stacks, I always see the rake is just so high, but the prize pools are really high too, and it seems like there's some value there for really good players.
And the level of tape play, from what I hear, is just atrociously bad. Yeah.
That's definitely true. I've played my share of deep stacks, and I've gotten deep a couple of times, and I guess the other issue with the deep stacks is that the structures are they're not the best. But again, it's a one-day tournament. You get 30-minute levels, and they definitely skip levels along the way. So it's a really fast structure. So you sort of want to try to get as many chips as you can early, and then sort of like hang on and to cash or run really deep. And that's but I mean that's sort of like the key in like if you're playing like a daily tournament at your local casino, it's pretty much going to be the same way. Just here it's a bigger field and a bigger prize pool.
Yeah, and I think keeping that dream is important. Like that's one of the reasons. If you're a casual guy going there with with the dream of winning a bracelet, I think it's important to do what you can to get into one of those events. Because you turn around, go home, you played some cash games and you lost, and then you think, wow, I could have that $1,000 I lost in that cash game. I could have played a 1K no limit in the World Series and had a shot and at least had a story to go home with to my poker buddies, kind of thing.
Or you can bust out in the first level of said 1K by just having kings under aces and you're only like 80 big blinds deep or whatever it is. I mean, it cuts both ways. It cuts both ways.
Right, but they still have that story, right?
Yeah.
They can go back to their weekly poker game and play, and say that I played in the World Series of Poker event this year, and I think we underestimate the amount of people that are there for that.
Definitely.
And we see those big numbers show up to those 1Ks, those 1,500s, and a large percentage of the field are those guys who you never hear from.
Well, I was going to say, Adam, so sorry to cut you off, but I think I don't remember who puts out these statistics, and maybe Kev will know, but there's always these statistics every year that, like, say the Colossus last year, like X% of the field was playing in their first ever WSOP tournament, because you have to register with your total rewards card, so they know how many events you've played or whether you've played an event before. And I think for things like the Colossus and the Monster Stack and the whatever else, those numbers are exceptionally high, though I can't remember what they are right now.
They're fascinating. Like those numbers are really interesting to look at because we look at an EPT Grand Final or whatever we were talking about last week, and 95% of these people have, they're not just jumping into a poker tournament for the first time in their life, 98%, whatever. But those, and I'm not saying that the, Colossus people have never played a tournament before, but it might be the biggest tournament they've ever played for a large percentage of them.
No doubt. Kev, do you have a favorite? So I've been looking, as we were talking, I've been noticed that Mr. Kevin Mathers on his Head and Mod page has cashed in the Daily Deep Stack in 3 consecutive years. 2012, he finished
this year is going to come to an end now.
17th for $1,822, and in 2013, 32nd for $568, and in 2014, an 80th place for $600. Your finishes actually keep getting lower, but the prize money actually got higher on that one. 80th place was worth $876. So, Kev, do you get to play any poker at all, or are you one of these guys with a dream?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely one of the players with a dream. Unfortunately, because I am going to be a Caesars employee this year, I can't play a bracelet.
Not even the employees event. Not even event 1.
Well, I mean, I probably could, but the thing is, it's like my second day on the job, and I don't think it gets like a really good idea to just like sort of slack off and, I mean, I could probably.
Hey, Chad Holloway was supposed to be working too.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, I don't think I'm going to play. I mean, I'll probably play some. I can play deep stacks. I'll definitely on my days off, and yes, I do get days off, fortunately. So I'll probably play some deep stacks. I'll probably I may go off the property and play at Planet Hollywood or maybe Golden. I think if I'm going to play elsewhere, it'll probably be either Planet Hollywood or Golden Nugget. Those are my two choices of where I would actually go to play poker myself. Or I mean, I could play like the nightly event at the Rio Poker Room has like they run 4 tournaments a day, and they're like really $60 buy-in, crap, terrible structure, et cetera, et cetera. But I've done decently in those as well. So I haven't won, but I've gotten like a third and a second when the rare times I've played that event. So let's see, where was that? I was actually while I was talking, I was trying to pull up how many people have actually new players from the Colossus, and
right.
And let's see. That's a lot. Yeah, but it was definitely. I think it was like
it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot. Just trying to find.
I think they even announced it in the room or something.
I thought they did, and I probably had it in this email I had, but it was definitely thousands of players. This was their first WSOP event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the great thing about the Colossus last year was I wasn't there last year during the Colossus, but I would see, like, if you look on, if you're looking for cash games around Vegas, like every place was full, and it was just like there was like incredibly long waiting lists, and I think that's what you're going to see this year as well. Something similar to that, and I mean that's great for poker all over Vegas.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, Adam wanted to talk about the people who are just going to come down for a few days and make it a weekend. It kind of unintuitively, the Colossus may not be the weekend for that because it jams every poker room to capacity. So if your plan is actually to play some tournaments and grind some cash, that may actually not be the optimal time. I was thinking the other kind of rough weekend that people might want to avoid is I think it's June. I want to say it's like the 17th or around that time is EDC, and Las Vegas is always a zoo during EDC, and those to me were sort of I wasn't so much answering Adam's question as answering what weekends perhaps not to go if you were one of those players.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the 17th is also the start of the seniors event, and you're probably going to get at least 4,000 players for that.
Right. And if you're not a senior, you can't play, obviously. So yeah.
Right. But that there's 4,000 Rio, but that means there's going to be other places. There's going to be other casinos that are going to have seniors events as well during that time frame. But that may be a good time to either go to EDC or and take the weekend off, or you can play elsewhere.
Right.
Kev, are you looking forward to it, or is it a thing like, oh God? It's funny. We see the media there. They're working their butts off. You've been part of that group for a long time. There's always this sort of love-hate relationship with the World Series of Poker by the media because they get to go and have some fun, but they're also there 12 hours a day for, in the hottest part of the year in Vegas. And I wonder if you're looking forward to it with it's going to be fun, or is it also part of, oh my God, here we go?
I mean, there's definitely a lot. There's definitely both those feelings I definitely have right now. And it's one of those things where it's sort of like, I mean, I've sort of put myself out there that, I mean, the reason the WSOP Caesars hired me was that, it was to help improve their social media effort. And if I don't do that, that's sort of on me because I sort of like put myself out there. This is going to be, with players' expectations of this is going to be a whole lot better than what we've seen in the past from the WSOP on Twitter. And I have that. I have a little bit. I definitely have some pressure on myself, and to Caesars, and because it's sort of like, I'm getting a little antsy. It's 2 weeks out right now, and but I mean, once I get there, I think it'll be fine. It's just there may be some rough spots along the way, but I mean, I'm definitely going to be doing my level best to do the best job possible.
I have no doubt that you will be a star for them, and congrats for the gig, and well done, WorldSeriesOfPoker.com, for hiring you guys. I really think that's a great move to bring you in and handle their stuff. Have a great summer. We'll see you down there, Kev. and talk to you soon.
Sounds good. I'll look forward to seeing you all down there this summer.
That, of course, is the man, the myth, the legend, Kevmath. Thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing the World Series of Poker social media accounts helmed by the best in the business. That's
really good on them, and I'm glad you mentioned that at the end before we took them off the line. Is that they have been criticized, the World Series, for their, and deservedly so. They have made some tremendously big. I didn't want to call Kev out and tell him to call out people that made these kind of mistakes, but we all know who they were. I mean, if you've been around the poker world for a while, you know that they did some extremely inappropriate things on that account and did not handle their business well. And, even aside from that, even like putting aside all that sort of lack of professionalism that existed on that account, they just weren't even providing the information that Kevmath was.
They were just relying on Kev.
Nobody was tweeting at WSOP going like, hey, what time does this tournament get off dinner break or whatever? They're just doing a Kevmath. And so, it was great that he did it for free for so long, but it's way better that he's now drawing a paycheck for it.
Yeah,
so
I think maybe we overestimate that a bit in that, there's a lot of people who don't know, especially World Series, like going to
no. Yeah, they were, but they might not be getting an answer. They might not tweet. They might tweet it at WSOP asking a question like, how can I send a wire transfer? Or, when does registration close for blah, blah, blah. But WSOP.com, as far as I know, wasn't answering them at all.
or near as efficiently as Kev was.
Yeah, certainly not on there all the time. I mean, at best, they might say, like, here's a link to the information. But yeah.
All right, that's going to take us to the end of the first segment. Again, we're going to be mixed up a little bit with our format this week. We'll get to some more in case you missed it and stuff in the second segment, as well as Mr. Greg FBT Mueller is going to join us in a little bit. Ross, what do you got to go?
All right, yeah. Well, PLO Quick Pro is the #1 training site for PLO players. It is the only site that has an entire suite of PLO courses designed by WSOP bracelet winner John Beaupre and 5K. I wonder if he can do it again this year. The 5K PLO Scoop winner last year, Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, they've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes, which I did. We'll talk about that later. So whether you're a small or micro stakes grinder, you're trying to become a winner, or you're already a winner, you're trying to move up in stakes, or especially if you're a no-limit player, you're trying to make the transition to PLO, they've got videos, PDFs, and tutorials to help you plug your leaks and look at the game in a new way. So if you'd like to learn the guaranteed fastest way to learn the fundamentals, master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, visit PLOquickPro.com/pokercast to get your own personalized PLO curriculum. And you can also reach John personally at john@PLOquickPro.com to learn more.
Nice. Again, that's going to take us to the end of the first segment. We're going to be back right after these messages. This is the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
Previously on All In or Knocked Out.
Two days later, I was on my own, and I was like, "There's just no way someone's going to try to threaten my ability to play poker." I lost, I don't know, like $50,000 online or something, and that's like a pretty big down day for me.
To some people, losing $50,000 would be a catastrophic event. To Olivier, it was, in his own words, a pretty down day.
So I always had gambling in my system since I was a kid because I grew up with my grandma. She taught me how to play poker with fake chips and stuff when I was a kid. And I remember one summer, finally, I lost all my clothes. And so when I turned into a professional gambler, she wasn't very happy. And she went in the closet and she brought out $5,000 in cash. And she said, "This is all the money I have. Take it, and then you could pay me back some other time."
And then for me, there's a lot of pressure because I've built this moment up. Obviously there's the money and there's just all of these things. So I have anxiety associated with my training because it's related to this pressure moment that's building up to it.
So that's one motivation right there. Because now I have a bet that is worth a lot more than it was worth for me, a few months ago.
People don't talk to me like that. He was like, if you ever talk to me like that again, like I'll find you and beat the shit out of you for free or something. Like he got mad.
You just think he's like a hothead?
Oh, clearly he is.
Yeah.
Super, and probably doing a whole lot of other stuff that's not just bench pressing. And by that I mean, juicing.
He said something to the effect of he was 85% sure I had juice flowing through my veins. He said he showed my picture to a couple professionals who agreed that they pointed at my lats as proof. And this was just all a big joke to me, to be honest. I'm sitting there having 100% of the information, and somebody else who's basically just making shit up is accusing me of something that's just completely not true.
Middle position makes it 2,500 to go at 6-12. Button calls, and I peel with 8-7 off in the big blind. Flop comes Queen 7-6 with a diamond flush draw. I got none. I check, middle position c-bets 4K. Button folds, and I call. The turn is a 5 of diamond. I lead this time for 13,000, and he calls quickly. The river is a jack offsuit, and I bet again, 32K this time, and he snap mucks.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month. Attention everyone not named Alan Kessler. Have someone you would love to appear on the Pokercast? Have someone you don't want to hear again on the Pokercast? Head on over to the Suggest a Guest thread in the Pokercast forum at 2plus2.com, and Adam will do his best to make you happy. P.S. Chainsaw, you can post too.
Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. Let's get into some more in case you missed it. The super fantastic High Roller Bowl is going to be broadcast live on the CBS Sports Network. This is the big tournament, $300,000 buy-in, $5 million for first over at the Aria. That's happening this coming up in the end of May 29th to June 1st. I thought this was interesting given that it's going to be broadcast live on CBS Sports Network. Now, this isn't CBS, the station.
Right.
This is CBS's sports channel that they have.
Right. Still pretty significant.
I think it's a pretty big deal. I don't know how big their audience is. I don't know if it's very big at all. But, it's an open door for poker to get back into the sort of mainstream media. ESPN has done live tournaments before with the One Drop, you'll remember, who did broadcast it live. But it's 8 hours every night, so it goes, I think, from, I want to say 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. for 4 straight nights that they're going to be showing this.
It does seem like one of these things that you would be more expected to see on, Twitch, right? The hardcore of the hardcore getting in there and just,
I guess it
really
depends how they frame it. You say hardcore, but do they frame it as, they get the commentators in that don't talk about ranges and they don't talk about UTG plus, hopefully they approach this in a different manner where they speak to the casual player.
I mean, I don't know. If you were going to run an 8-hour show, if you're going to run like multiple hours of it, then you kind of will talk. You will end up talking about these ranges. You look at the World Series live broadcasts, like they try to make that about as accessible as possible for the average viewer, but they still can't get away from that, right?
That's true.
You just can't do it, especially when you're talking about live poker and you've got like really, you've got tanks in between hands. A turn card changes, it's a scare card or it changes the board in some way. The commentator can't not talk about that. Like there's really no way around it, because you are filling up gaps. You're not just showing, especially like the structure of this thing. It's not just one of these things where it's like a WPT final table and everybody's like 22 big blinds deep and it's ace queen versus pocket sevens, and it's like, oh my god, a queen hit on the river, that's amazing. That's not the way this thing is going to be. It's not going to go down. You're watching this thing because you're interested in 30 to 40 or whatever it is of the best no limit hold'em players in the world, and everybody else. I think you just kind of have to own that. I think if you're producing the show, you just kind of have to own that and just accept that the guy who's normally tuning in to watch whatever it is they show, I'm looking at the CBS Sports Network Wikipedia page. This looks like they show a lot of college sports, basketball, football, hockey. They also show some stuff like arena football and the world's strongest man and all that kind of stuff. So there's the niche sports and you just have to accept
those world's strongest man competitions.
Yeah. What's your favorite? You like the Atlas balls, right? I bet you love the Atlas balls where they just like this big concrete. Because everything else you're just thinking like, oh well, that's just a heavier version of the thing that I could lift. Yeah. But then they just get a slab of concrete that's like 5 times the size of a human. You're just like, and they're trying to like roll it up a wall or something like that.
So great.
Just trying to think of the steroids that are juicing through those veins is kind of scary though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you just kind of have to own it and just say like, this is going to be a thing for the hardcores, and only hardcores are going to watch this. And maybe we'll catch some people who are interested in the drama. Maybe the final table's different. Maybe the final 3 when it's heads up and that kind of stuff. Maybe has a different feel or flavor to it. But it's not going to be the WPT. It's certainly not going to be the NBC heads up championship. Where they just like it was just a complete crapshoot and they're just trying to get like fun graphics and celebrities playing against Phil Ivey or whatever. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah. All right. In case you missed it, PokerStars breaks up a spin and go cheating ring. So what happened was on 2+2 on one of the forums, there were some people who reported that they got pretty sizable refunds from PokerStars into their accounts in an email saying that they had been the victims of cheating in the spin and goes. Of course, Stars can't say exactly how they were cheated or how they were caught. So there were some people scratching their heads. But I just wanted to quickly talk about this. First, great that Stars caught people that are doing this. Hopefully, they have that was just, pretty easy to catch, given that we're talking about 3 players, some collusion, I'm guessing, or some sort of card sharing. Great that the software has, their backend software has the ability to catch these people. But just on the other hand, for the players, the fact that they're not going to find out exactly why and what happened is understandable. You've been at PokerStars, and I'm sure you can explain exactly why this is the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the more information you give about what happened, the easier it is for the bad guys to sort of try to circumvent this. It was brought up on the Part-Time Poker, that very excellent blog that they have there, that, even giving away what seems like fairly innocent information, like, oh, it was about 30 to 40 people, say, for example, if that was the case.
Sure.
Then they would just say, like, that's the, maybe if you're going to run a collusion ring, you just run it slightly smaller than that, and maybe they won't catch that. But all of these kind of methods and stuff like that, it's very hard for PokerStars to sort of give any information. So they're sort of stuck in a hard place, PR wise, and obviously Stars has enough PR problems these days to deal with on their own. But this is one where I think they've acted quite reasonably, and Michael Josem, who's involved in the security, says admits that it's frustrating, but this has to be done in order to catch more bad guys in the future, and in order to prevent bad guys from being able to get on there. And it is kind of annoying how vague they were, but it's certainly understandable, because this is not something that's just going to go away. And so I don't think this is a spot where I think they need to be super transparent, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think that's.
I'd rather they just, if I'm a player, I'd rather they just catch them and send me back the money, whether, and then later on, 10 years from now, you could write the book about how you caught cheats, and it'll be a really entertaining read.
That would be. In case you missed it, the World Series of Poker, we're just talking about it. They usually have sort of a town hall type thing where they have a conference call for the media that are going to be covering the World Series. Each year there's a transcript published that people can read. It's sort of an informational type thing for people in the media to ask questions of the guys at the World Series about the upcoming events. This year they're going to do a little bit differently. They're going to put it on Twitch, and they're going to open up to everybody. So I thought that was pretty cool. If anybody wants to head over, it is Thursday, May 19th at 4 p.m. Eastern over at their Twitch channel. If you want to ask any of the head honchos over at the World Series of Poker about the upcoming series. I just thought that was a bit of a PSA, a neat thing that they were doing.
Look at the WSOP getting on the new media train, hiring the Kevmath, getting themselves on Twitch, and how many people do you think get banned from speaking in that chat? What are you setting the over under at? How many people get blocked or banned?
12, probably.
Oh wow! See, because I was about to say 13, and so I think we've set a line. We've set a line. Ross, we're going to give you 12.5. You want the over or the under?
I don't know, because if it's their first stream, they probably won't have good mods. I'll take the under.
All right, under 12.5 is the smart money from Ross.
I think they're going to have quick triggers because they're new mods. We'll find out.
Yeah.
In case you missed it, Timex, Mike McDonald takes down the EPT Player of the Year by the slimmest of margins. Mike beats out Steve O'Dwyer, Mr. Tim Gom, by less than a single point. So Mike ended up with 3,747.38 points. Steve ended up with 3,746.42 points. So less than a point difference for the Player of the Year of the EPT. To give you kind of an idea, Ivan Luka finished third with 3,097, so about 700 points behind him in third. Steve O'Dwyer tweeted out, did I really lose the EPT 12 Player of the Year race to Mike McDonald in the last day by 0.0003%?
Wow.
Pretty neat story. Like they go to Monaco, they're basically tied. They're all playing as many tournaments as they can, I'm guessing, to try and get a few more points, and they're both very good at tournaments. Steve took a lead. He cashed in both high rollers. But the very last event of the festival, the 10K 6-Max No Limit Hold'em Turbo, McDonald ends up in 7th place, and I guess that's all he needed, 7th, to get ahead of Mr. Tim Gom.
Are you aware of what the prize was? Because I remember they used to give out cash for the
I don't know what it is. They used to give out
so
Wacoop entries and stuff.
Yeah. I think there might have been that too. So I'm not actually sure what Steve O'Dwyer bubbled on, but I'm sure it was significant. And too bad, because Steve O'Dwyer was a Black Trip contributor to All In or Knocked Out, by the way.
Oh, was
we were hoping he sent us a nice donation. So
you're saying Timex wasn't?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying there's no justice. That's all.
Yeah, he could be. I mean,
maybe he hasn't had time to listen to it yet. We'll give him some time.
All In or Knocked Out karma now?
We wish for the best for all of our Black Chip contributors.
Yeah.
We might have to anti-sweat if it was a Black Chip contributor versus a non.
We might have to. Don't make us anti-sweat.
In case you missed it, Full Tilt Poker is going to be merging with Pokerstars on May 17th. This is 5 days away. Effectively the end of Full Tilt Poker as we know it.
Yeah, I mean...
Which is pretty interesting. I mean, this is a major site that's made it news in the poker world for years and years and years. Kind of this rags to riches to rags story.
It's a hell of a story. I mean, you could easily, speaking of writing books, we could easily have written books on the rise and fall of Full Tilt Poker. The way they were one of the later entrants into online poker, still made it all the way to number 2 through just an obscene marketing spend, but also very clever marketing, just basically attracting every significant pro under the sun that other than the World Series main event winners, and just deciding, like, we're going to spend our way to this. This is like the thing. It's kind of like, it's reminiscent of what we were talking about not long ago with daily fantasy sports, right? Where they all decided that, daily fantasy sports is the next big thing. We are just going to spend the shit out of this to get market share. And that's what Full Tilt did for a very long time. And it worked for a very long time. And then we, of course, all know the story about all the shady things that happened and all the liquidity, and then Black Friday. And then there's this whole host of things that the book on Full Tilt Poker closing is you got to have mixed emotions about it, because and that's not even to mention the incredibly historic games that happened on there, the super high stakes games, all the controversies, all the battles, the rise of Isildur and all these kind of things that happened on Full Tilt. Phil Ivey playing, 2000, 4000 and all this. It's crazy to think that this is the end of the road for Full Tilt.
It really
Poker.
is. I love Full Tilt playing on that. Before all this stuff happened, I enjoyed playing on there. There was a lot of Omaha games for me to play.
Yeah. I was never a fan of the software, but I made a ton of money on there. So I always thought the software was a little slow, and when you play like Heads Up Limit Hold'em, all you kind of want is speed, like responsiveness with mouse clicks. I didn't like the mouse clicks or the sound as much. I didn't need the graphics and all that kind of stuff. But I do appreciate how much those graphics and those touches really the casual players very much enjoyed them, and it became very much a place to play for casual players. And of course, that money swam upstream to me, so I'm certainly not going to complain about it. Sure. But I never thought it was as responsive as PokerStars, or especially Ultimate Bet, which was just an incredible, just crack addict poker.
Remember their mini view? Ultimate Bet's mini view.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you could multi-table, like if you could do multiple tables of the mini view, then you impressed me, because I mean, some of those you're just getting like 300 hands per hour. You're just clicking. You're just speed mashing buttons. But
mini view was genius. I wish somebody else would do that. It was such a great feature.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little less necessary now that you've got adjustable screen sizes.
Can you explain it? I don't.
Oh sure. Okay, so mini view, for those who know, so your standard internet poker table is a rectangle. It's a very large rectangle. It might take anywhere from a quarter to maybe 2/3 of your monitor before you're resizing. Mini view, they managed to shrink this thing down to what would basically be about the size of like a banner ad on a website.
Oh my god!
So like let's say about like 5 inches long and 1 inch tall on your computer screen, and they managed to do it so that your cards, you could just read your card faces in the bottom left corner, and then all you had was the fold button, call button, raise button, and in the case of Ultimate Bet, they had a bet pot button too, which was nice. And then instead of having a circle so that you could follow the action, everybody was lined up from seat 1 to 9, right? So just imagine, seat 1, Naslin unassigned and so on, just all it goes. And you would see the action actually scrolled right to left. So you'd actually be able to say, a raise and then a call and then, 2 people fold, and then there'd be little tiny graphics. But they managed to pack all the relevant information that you could possibly need into like the strip, like the size of a banner ad. And so you could multi-tape. And you have to remember, back in the day too, people didn't have fancy monitors. Monitors were pretty expensive back then. A flat screen monitor was a few $1,000s. So people were playing on like CRT monitors
with
that
low
were
resolution.
They were like 640 by 480 resolution, 14-inch monitors. You could play 3 mini view tables, and it was amazing at that point. And the software was fast and responsive. But anyway, we're getting off topic, which was Full Tilt, which is
you can play on phones now.
Yes, it was probably a lot like it was sort of the precursor to, I guess, playing on mobile, where basically it's that level of information. Yeah. But,
indeed. So May 17th, player pools at PokerStars and Full Tilt are going to be merging. And at Full Tilt, if you're playing, it'll still say Full Tilt Poker, but it'll be laid over the PokerStars software.
Right.
Which you mentioned you didn't like the software, but it feels like there's a market out there for like there isn't.
I'd be shocked if some California gaming tribe wasn't presently looking into it right now, because it's certainly good enough to be competitive today.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Years and years later. So anyway, if you're a Full Tilt player and you don't know about that, head on over. You'll find some information.
They invented fast fold poker, right?
Yep.
So like this was the inventor. We call it Zoom now, but it was of course originally Rush Poker, and fast fold poker. They invented it.
In case you missed it, Idris Elba and Jessica Chastain are.
No idea who those people are.
Stringer Bell.
What? Stringer Bell? You don't watch The Wire?
No.
Oh man, you have decided not to watch the greatest show in television history.
Apparently,
that's your choice.
I watched the first episode once.
They're both set to star in Alan Sorkin's adaptation of the book Molly's Game. We talked about this a couple of years back. This is the big Hollywood game that involved some of the biggest celebrities in Hollywood. The private game that was eventually full of scandal. Jessica Chastain will play Molly, and Full Stringer Bell will play her lawyer, I guess, who had a lot to deal with when shit hit the fan. I kind of thought it might be weird because, you know, the story is sort of centered around this poker game with a bunch of celebrities like DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, all these guys. Do you go and get people who look like, is it a DiCaprio lookalike to play DiCaprio? It seems like it's going to be hard to do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's Are they? Is that what they're doing? Like you're gonna call some famous, like some other famous actor, and you're gonna just call him Leo and expect people to buy that? That does seem like awkward. I mean, I'm trying to think if there any been meta movies like that made where you made a movie about an actor that presently exists, but that actor doesn't actually play themselves in the show.
Like I'm thinking of like Entourage, but all those people just kind of played themselves.
Oh yeah. And they have final approval over the script, which they're not going to have in this case.
But part of the story that, like, you know, if you remember back to the book, I don't know if you guys read it, but Tobey Maguire at one point asks Molly to bark like a seal to throw $1,000 chip at her. That's part of the, you know, he's kind of a jerk off in the game. So, you know, do they go? It's this weird politics thing too, right? Do they want to piss off some of the biggest stars in Hollywood by telling some of these stories too? It just seems like a troublesome script to write.
Yeah, but now that you tell me that story, I'm way more inclined to watch the movie.
Yeah,
because I want to see people. I want to see like honesty and truth in filmmaking.
Well, I don't think we'll see it, but fingers crossed. In case you missed it, the World Series of Poker announced that Italian card manufacturer Modiano, the company that provided the playing cards to
Italian for card. I believe Modiano is the Italian word for is for marks. Like if you look at the card, go back and listen to last year's World Series. Last year's World Series poker casts to see us ripping into Modiano just for all the disaster that was.
Good news is they will not be providing cards this year at the tournament. The World Series of Poker learned their lesson. They signed a deal with a company called Copag, who apparently
they sound sturdier.
They do.
Oh, Copag cards have been around for a while. I've played with Copag cards. They're fine.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember specifically Copag. So, but glad to know that those are good. Why don't we head into so we've got FBT Mueller coming up in the next segment. Let's get to a couple of the viewer mails.
And now,
that right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Malcolm? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag. Email number 1.
Quick disclaimer on this one. It's a little bit hard to understand, so Adam, you might not get it on your end, but
is this going to be in Russian again?
No.
Yeah, Ross, Adam, fan. My name is Addison. I was just calling to tell you guys about a hand I played recently. It was some 10 cent, 25 cent PLO, and I had quad 10s dealt to me in the cutoff. So I was trying to be cool like Ross, and I raised it up. I get one call and 6 line. The board was jackpot, king, queen, nine.
There you are.
I shoot out 3 barrels. The board doesn't pair. And he calls me down all 3 and puts over king, X6 for flop top set. He doesn't give a fuck about the straight. And, I gotta go watch some more PLO Quick Pro, figure out what went wrong there. Alright. Love the show. Talk to you guys later.
I think the moral of the story is like blockers don't work in live poker.
No, it was low stakes online.
Oh, it was low stakes online. Okay,
so that was your problem.
I think. Don't work.
Yeah, also don't work.
Yeah, your problem is trying to make somebody fold top set when it's the buy-in is.
Yeah,
is
I'm surprised he didn't get raised at some point.
Yeah, just a little click back.
Sorry. The roster report should come with a disclaimer that you shouldn't necessarily play. Exactly. Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
Do you roll the 4 10s over in that spot and just like? Whoosh,
of course you do.
Out
of course you do.
Yeah. I try and go for the river check raise.
Yeah, that probably would
work. When
work.
he shows you trips, you just go 4 10s, baby.
I have all the 10s.
Quads.
I got most of the 10s.
All right.
Email number 2.
Hi guys, Steve from Melbourne, Australia, which is 17,500 kilometres from Kells. Just ringing to ask if you guys can possibly schedule a Pokercast to kick off about 6 hours earlier than normal to allow your friends in the Asia-Pacific region, especially our friends in Bangladesh, the opportunity to play that isn't at 3 a.m. on a Monday morning. Thanks, guys. Love the show. And I will hopefully look forward to seeing a Pokercast invitational on a Sunday night. See
Well, this certainly isn't going to help.
Oh, my God.
That certainly isn't going to help.
You bastard.
That certainly isn't going to help. What is the most inconvenient time for Melbourne?
Yeah.
What else can we...
Worst time of day for you for this tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I used to like Melbourne. I think we both did, right, Adam?
So,
I think we both used to like Melbourne.
Don't know what that is. That's the Chelsea Dagger song by the Fratellis that tilts every Vancouver Canucks fan because the Chicago Blackhawks play that song every time they score a goal, and they scored many goals against us in the playoffs. So we got to hear it over and over. That was an awesome tilt song there for us. The Bangladeshis, I haven't heard from them. I haven't got, there's no posts in the forums. We have a few listening every day. I really want to have a Pokercast on location in Bangladesh, so hopefully one of them pipes up and provides some sort of venue for us.
Just like some guy who runs a sweatshop.
I wonder who the number one Bangladeshi Hended Mob results guy is.
Sounds like something.
I'm actually going to Google that right now. And there are 0 players in the Hended Mob from Bangladesh. Literally, there's 0 caches. I'm shocked. I'm actually really shocked by this. But yeah, like you can go to the Hended Mob and there's a page that just says, has a complete country list, and you click on the Bangladeshi one. It literally says 0.
Wow.
I'm really surprised. There are 12 players from Kyrgyzstan, none from
Kyrgyzstan,
Bangladesh.
yeah.
None from Bangladesh still. So whatever one of you guys is out there, all you got to do, get yourself to the Rio, play a daily deep stack. Play really tight. Hit a min cash.
Number one Bangladeshi.
You just need to min cash the daily deep stack, and you are the number one. Yeah.
I think we need a Bangladeshi on the show. All right.
We'll interview him if he gets that first cash for Bangladesh.
Yeah.
All right.
Email number 3.
Rob writes in, hey guys, by the way, this is an email that I found. I don't know how I found it. I was tooling around trying to clean up my inbox in my email client, and I found this email from January.
You still use an email client?
Oh, no, Gmail, sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, I know you're not great with the technologies. We did spend about 10 minutes trying to get you set up with the microphone this morning, but I was just
anyway,
what are you still using Outlook Express or something?
I emailed the guy, because I couldn't remember, this guy named Rob in Ireland, I couldn't remember if I had answered this on the air, or if we'd answered it on the air.
Okay.
And he said no, so let's get to it right now. Hey guys, Rob from Greystones in Ireland, only 98.5 kilometers to Kells.
Wow.
Love the show. It helps me on my 1 hour round trip walk to work every day. 1 hour round trip walk to work. That's awesome.
So you could take a car and it would be, 7 or 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe 15. Maybe 15 minutes. Or ride a bike. Maybe it takes 20, 25. But no, choose the rock. I like it. I like the pace of life in Greystones.
Just want to touch base about Adam's reference to his assistant golf pro role on the Pokercast 395. My heart bled when I heard you were only earning $1,500 a month. I turned assistant in 2001 and was earning $100 a week, and we were working up to 70 hours. Earning that, working those hours and playing golf, let alone poker. Funny story: I once caddied for the head pro of Headford Golf Club, which is in Kells, in a European Tour event at the K Club. He just missed the cut, and when I got home, he reversed the charges of a phone call to my house to see if I'd caddy for him again. So the golf economy in Canada is not so bad after all. I'm now working at a golf course I believe you and MJ may have played, Glen of the Downs, with a pal of mine, Barry O'Hanrahan. Love to see you guys again. Keep up the great work. Barry, I remember Seamus Leprechaun. I don't know who Barry is, but no, I'm kidding. We did play that fine golf course in Ireland. Had a lot of fun. Thanks for the email. Well, yeah, I mean, $1,500 a month in Vancouver is pretty tough. This is a really expensive city. I think my rent was...
Yeah, but what year was that?
So that was like 94.
Yeah.
Huh. I have a little clip of you talking about that time.
Okay, good, yeah.
I choke, I puke all over myself.
That is from my playability test. That's the story of my playability test when I was trying to become an assistant. I did choke and puke all over myself in figurative terms and playing on the golf course. Oh well.
Got a big truck going by you there.
Yeah.
I thought it was a helicopter for a second.
Taking me down.
All right.
Email number
004. Hit my Jones up on the low.
Clough from Switzerland writes, 1,700 kilometers from Kells. Hey guys, I've been listening to your podcast since the start and couldn't imagine a life without you. I'm going this year to Vegas for 6 weeks, and the first month I'm going to stay at the Golden Nugget. I haven't been to Old Vegas yet, so I'm not sure if it was a good decision. Should I be prepared to take the bus taxi to the Strip a lot, or do you think I'll be able to find some good 1-2 cash games there? Oh, my girl will visit me for 2 weeks when I'll be staying out at the Mirage, and I'm kind of scared that she won't like it. Any GTO tips on what to do with her? She's Asian, she likes gambling. Keep the good work. The Golden, I haven't played a ton downtown other than at the Horseshoe back in the day when the World Series was at the Horseshoe. So I've never played, I don't believe, at the Golden Nugget.
I have, and it was a few years ago, and it was nice. It was definitely nice. I'd be shocked if you couldn't find 1-2 no limit at the Golden Nugget. And obviously Kevin just came on. He didn't say what month he's going to be visiting, but if it's during the World Series time, tons of stuff rolling. Yeah. I mean, Kev just talked about we'll have that link up on the schedule, but there's many tournaments at the Golden Nugget. It looked like literally daily going on. So yeah, Old Vegas. I mean, yeah, you can definitely play some poker in Old Vegas.
My friend Luke. Shout out to Luke. I think last time he went to Vegas for the UFC, he played 2 4-limit hold'em at the Nugget.
Ah, nice.
With a $4 rig?
It was like the lowest stakes game you can find in Vegas.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, the Mirage is awesome. So you'll be staying at the Mirage when your girlfriend gets there, it sounds like, Klaus. So that'll be great because there's poker there. The Mirage is great, too. It's a cool casino. It'll be sort of an upgrade from the Golden Nugget, I think, as far as casino for hotels.
Cirque du Soleil at the Mirage.
Cirque du Soleil,
the Beatles love shows.
You got tons of stuff too.
Remco likes to play his 4-8 mix game there in the summer.
I mean, I think there's just so much to do in Vegas. That'll be fine. I mean, it might be a good idea to rent a car, even get off strip, that kind of thing. 2 weeks is a pretty lengthy trip in Vegas, so you can definitely rent a car and you can get out and do some hiking or go to some of the off-strip restaurants. Many great off-strip restaurants there. Lots to do in Vegas. Like 2 weeks is a long time to be buried on the strip. But yeah,
when you rent a car for 2, like he says, he asks if he should be prepared to take the bus or taxi to the Strip. I mean, I don't know if I'd rent a car because now I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of casinos now are going to be charging for all MGM properties.
Yeah, all MGM properties.
They're going to be charging for valet and self-park now, too.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's a big problem yet right away. I don't think it is. I think it's still going to definitely save you money over taking taxis. Maybe not the bus, but then,
there's Uber now.
Do you want to carry your poker bankroll on the bus is completely another question.
But there is Uber now, too.
Yes, but Uber will not pick you up from casinos.
What?
That's the rule. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Uber in Las Vegas is not allowed to pick up from casinos.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Joe writes, hey guys, the discussion last week regarding the incident that occurred during Mike Dental really interested me, and I'm currently writing an article about collusion in poker for a small-time sports website. It seems very likely that Dental and Coletta were indeed colluding, although both deny these accusations. But my question or questions are regarding collusion in poker in a broader sense. From my perspective, if 2 poker pros could attempt to collude in a tournament with other poker pros, it seems that collusion is almost certainly occurring in lesser tournaments and cash games, whereas there is less at stake. The players are less perceptive, experienced, and therefore it's easy to carry out. What's your take on this? Let's assume that collusion probably does occur. What games are collusion most likely to take place at? What level of game? What's the most memorable instance of collusion that you guys can recall? Love the Pokercast. Keep up the great work. It's legendary at the Commerce, in the bigger sort of limit games that go on there, that there's, rings of people that are colluding in those, whether it's true or not. I'm not 100% sure. As far as the most memorable sort of collusion things, you have to look at Men the Master and some of the stuff that he's been accused of over the years. And those aren't, small tournaments. Those are happening in big field and big buy-ins as well. So, or allegedly happening, I guess is what you would say.
Yeah.
Have I seen anything? I don't really think I've seen any sort of overt collusion. So, Terrence?
I've seen I think it was a 25K buy-in event in Sydney. It was at the table. I was on the button, and the small blind and the big blind checked down ace, king, and pocket jacks, which is not generally considered to be a standard play with those two hands in a $25,000 buy-in tournament. I called them out on it, and they tried to make up some bullshit about, it's trapping or whatever. And then I kind of insisted and called the floor, and then this guy actually wanted to fight me, and then
really,
it was crazy. I wrote about it on my blog. I think it was probably 2009 or something. So I've seen some stuff. I mean, to get to the question from Joe, yeah, for sure, this stuff is going to happen in smaller tournaments. In fact, I think it's actually slightly more likely in smaller tournaments, although it's less likely, I think, to be as flagrant or harmful. I think in smaller tournaments, it's much more likely to sort of be the kind of guys who don't think that they're doing something wrong, as opposed to, I think, Dentali and Coletto, who are experienced enough to know better and probably just decided to do it anyway. I think, I've definitely seen some stuff in small stakes tournaments that were that just really raise an eyebrow. It's happened. It's something to watch out for. And don't forget, you always have the right to ask to see the hands at showdown, or ask the dealer to, not muck a certain hand if you think something's up, and you should take full advantage of it. And sometimes it's not going to make you the most popular guy at the table, but I mean, you do have to protect yourself in these things. As for sorry, go ahead.
Did you fight the guy?
I did not. I did not feel like getting kicked out of a $20,000 tournament. I had a double starting stack too at that point, if I remember correctly. Oh, so I really wasn't in the mood to forfeit $50K of equity.
Can we name him or no?
I don't even know his name. It was just some random dude who was playing a high roll.
Was he Australian?
He was Australian.
Did he? Did he sing the?
He did not sing the Chelsea Dagger song.
Chelsea Dagger while he was trying to tilt you.
Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe that's why he's getting back at me after all these years.
That was him who called us.
Yeah, but
Email number
6.
Troy writes, hey guys, I want to get your opinion on the situation that took place in a 125 PLO game here in Houston. Let me preface by saying it's a private game with amateur dealers, and screw-ups happen semi-regularly. So I'm dealt the 10-9-7-6 in late position. Early player opens to 15. And not surprisingly, in this game, gets 5 callers, including me. The flop is 10-8-7. I flop the ass end of the straight and top and bottom pair. A player bets 55, another calls. The next guy raises the pot. So it's 480 to me. Well, my initial thought was that the flop hit me hard. I think there's a strong chance the raiser has Jack-9. With 2 guys behind me and the 2 callers in front of me, I think it's pretty easy fold, as it could be up against the nut straight. But just as an aside, I totally agree. I think that's pretty much a snap fold there. I go to double check my hand, and when I slowly squeeze them, I see 10-9-7-6-6. What the shit? So there's more to the email, but I wanted to cut it off there, guys, because I didn't want the result.
No spoilers.
I haven't even read the rest of the email. Drama. What do you do? Drama, yeah, at that point. It's interesting because there's obviously significant action. We're a long way through this hand. There's a bunch of money in the middle. I think what do you do is the question here. Is it better to muck? So there's options, right? You just muck. You verbally declare fold and say, I'm going to keep my hand right here. You don't have to say why. or you say stop the action and you go find a floor person and you explain the situation to them. I think probably the latter is the one that I like. If you just kind of say, okay, everybody stop for a second, don't tell anybody you've got 6 cards, pile them in front of you, and then go find a floor man. I think that's what I would do.
I'm leaning towards door number 2. I think door number 3 is perfectly acceptable, to go over and tell the floor man and let him make the decision. The good news is, he didn't have Queen Jack 9.
I mean, it's a private game, right? So
yeah. I mean, it's
be way worse.
Yeah, you would have a real dilemma if you had like Queen Jack 9. I think then you definitely have a floor man calling situation. But yeah, I would probably just muck quietly and just hold them to the side and say like, hey, I just realized this, and then the dealer screws up, and there's no harm, no foul, because he was folding anyway. It doesn't really matter. But your option is fine too. I think either of those two things is good.
He continues, what the shit, somehow I have 5 cards in my hand.
Mucking your hand is clearly wrong. I think you and I both agree with that, and I just like firing your hand and not saying nothing is definitely the worst choice.
Yeah. I must have quit fanning them when I looked at them initially pre-flop. Not sure how they got stuck. This has never happened before in the game. My question is, what should I have done? Obviously, if I was continuing on with the hand, I would have had to say something, as I couldn't win with 5 cards. However, since I was going to fold anyway, should I have just quietly mucked and said nothing? Unfortunately, I did speak up, and that's when all hell broke loose. There were 2 camps. One group said my hand should have been dead, and that because of the multiple actions on multiple streets, they should play out the hand. Another faction that because I had 5 cards, others' holdings, as well as the flop cards, were not right, so it should be a misdeal. Others
that is incorrect. So there's no way you can declare a misdeal after the flop in this much action.
Yeah. Others suggested my hand was should be dead, but that I should have been refunded my 151 or my 15 that I put in the pot. As a side note, the player raised the pot is very wealthy and one of the biggest losing regulars in the game. He said if it's a misdeal, he was cashing out and going home. My opinion is that it should have been a misdeal because the sequence of cards was messed up, which affected everything afterward. Everyone should have been refunded their amount they put in the pot. However, for the greatest long-term good of the game, after much heated debate, I declared my hand was dead and they could carry on with the hand.
I think we agree completely that there's no way it's a misdeal after this much action. There's no magical order of cards that comes out. I mean, when possible, you try to preserve the quote-unquote natural order of cards, but there's no such thing after this has happened. I also don't think that Troy deserves a refund for the money back in the pot because it's his mistake. You're supposed to check how many cards you have. I think he would. I think his hand is dead. Regardless of whether he had wanted to play his hand or not, I think his hand is dead, and he also forfeits the money in the pot. It's on you to know how many cards you have.
Totally agree. So that's what happened. The rich sucker and indeed flopped the nuts, got it all in with 2 others, dodged the world, and won an $1,800 pot. But you couldn't really dodge the world when you had a lot of the cards.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which you had lost most by the time I left. So what do you guys think of what I did and what should happen in that instance? Thanks and love the show, Troy. I guess we're all in agreement there. Once you get that significant action, it's
not a misdeal. Yeah, I think it's a misnomer to ever... I think, and this is a common misconception that I think people have in poker, is that a hand can be a misdeal because like some natural order or something didn't happen right. It's only if it's caught early enough for it to be declared a misdeal. One of these kind of things. Like there's a lot of the times like there will be something else weird will happen. Like the 4 of diamonds will show up on the board twice or something like that, and people will think that's a misdeal. No, it's not a misdeal. We just take that the second 4 of diamonds out there, reshuffle it, and deal out a new turn card. You don't declare misdeals in the middle of hands. I mean, unless the circumstance is totally bizarre.
Okay. Let's throw in the invitational here. We're going to finish up the mailbag. We've got some more emails to get to. We'll do that next week. The Pokercast Invitational. This is the Pokerstars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. $1.10 buy-in. And it is in the private tab of the tournament's lobby, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Got it right this week.
Well done.
Add it to your Sunday grind while you're scooping up a storm. This week, May 15th, we're playing 3 backs. No Limit Hold'em, and the password 40 million, 40 MILLION, all one word, all lowercase, is going to be the password. May 22nd, we do 2 weeks in advance. May 22nd, let's play 9-handed No Limit Hold'em.
Boring.
Crazy concept, right?
Boring.
Well,
totally boring for us, but I think there's a lot of people who enjoy it.
It'll fit in with your Scoop Championships, or is that this weekend?
Scoop Championships. Is that? Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that may work out well. Yeah.
It will. The password.
This is the one you really want to win, though.
Yeah.
This one is the one you want to win, yeah. How about the password's Buck21? This is our buddy Sean Buchanan who just took down another scoop event.
All lowercase.
All lowercase. BUCK21. Sean Buck21 Buchanan. All right, so that's going to do it for this segment. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to have some discussion with Mr. Greg Mueller and get into some strategy stuff. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
I defend 8-9 offsuit versus a middle position open with Annie's, 40 big blinds deep. I flop a double gutter on Queen 10-6-2 spades, and I like to check raise his c-bet as it's my worst possible draw in this situation, and his range contains more spades, thus making it a hand I'm going to free barrel on a lot of runouts. He folds to a check raise and I win the pot.
Team Pro Online's Mickey Moment Mori Peterson is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
What's up, guys? My name's John Beaupre, and I'm the founder and lead instructor of PLOQuickPro.com. Now, we're the only site that has an entire suite of PLO courses designed by myself, a WSOP champion, and 3-time Supernova Elite PLO Crusher Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, we've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. So whether you're a small or micro stakes grinder trying to become a winner for the first time, or you're already a winning player looking to make more money and move up in stakes, and especially if you're a no-limit player looking to make the transition to PLO, we've got the videos, PDFs, and tutorials to help you plug leaks and look at the game in a new way. To learn the guaranteed fastest ways to master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, visit www.ploquickpro.com/pokercast to get your very own personalized PLO curriculum. Or even better, if you'd like to reach out to me personally, shoot me an email at john@ploquickpro.com and I'll help you find the best courses to fit your game. Good luck.
Hey, it's Mike from the 2+2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com. 2+2 is pleased to announce the release of their most anticipated book in ages, Applications of No Limit Hold'em, a guide to understanding theoretical sound poker by Matthew Jonda. This book will give you the ability to create the bet sizings and ranges which will beat the better players. The theory in this book is not designed to be complex or abstract, but rather it's intended to be applied immediately, producing better overall results. Many confusing concepts such as overbetting, balancing multiple bet sizing ranges, donk betting, and check raising as a pre-flop raiser are crucial to a player's strategy, despite few players implementing them or talking about them. And after reading this book, you should be able to not only conceptually understand these ideas, but also know how to begin incorporating them into your game, and thereby successfully compete against tough opponents. And at the 2+2 store, we accept all credit cards, plus PayPal and NetTeller.
Okay, people, most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast@2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. Let's bring in another guest this week. We're going to talk to another guy heading down in slightly different fashion that we were talking to Kevmath about. Kev, of course, we're talking about a guy who's, a weekend warrior type poker player heading out to Vegas to play, maybe 1K or a 1,500 and taking a shot at a bunch of stuff. Our next guest is two-time bracelet winner Greg FBT Mueller from these parts here in Vancouver. Greg, welcome back to the show, sir. It's been a couple of years since we had you on.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
You still play poker? You still play this game?
I'll be honest, I haven't played in almost, I don't think I played a hand of poker in almost a year.
Is that right?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, one full year. Yeah, I got a little heavy again, and I don't really love the game like I used to, and I like, relaxing, and got a new place and got a bunch of TVs. I like watching my sports. So just took a year to get fit again, play a high caliber hockey with your brother Dan and a lot of junior kids and some pros and stuff. And so just enjoying things. But yeah, it's time to get back down and play some poker, I guess.
Greg, that surprises me that you said you lost your passion a bit, because to me, every time I've played with you at the table, you've always struck me as a guy who enjoyed playing, enjoyed being around it. I mean, obviously, you get your ups and downs, and everybody does from time to time. But has this time off made you more hungry? Do you think you're going to come back strong?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people ask me all the time, geez, taking almost a year off, you got to feel like, aren't you going to be rusty? And I said, yeah, for sure. But I think what I lack in the rust department, or in the sharp department, I'm going to make up in the fact that I'm way fitter and can deal with adversity a lot more. And also I'll be hungrier to play because, like I said, I just really was getting sick of playing and obviously for us D-gens, when you take a year off, even I'll be looking forward to squeezing some cards.
Is it sitting around a poker room, or eating bad food? Like what you say, you got heavy again. I guess you're not, when you're down there, you're not playing hockey, you're not exercising. You kind of let yourself. Is it just because of the fact that you're sitting around playing poker 14 hours a day and eating that food, or is it something else?
Like my routine when I'm home is I'm on the ice between 3 and 4 times a week. Yeah. I go see a personal trainer 3 times a week. I go for a couple jogs. I'm getting 8 hours of sleep every single day. Just don't have the stress of the swings of, winning or losing big amounts of money. And so I have I'm living at home and eating healthy foods and just living a very, very sane and healthy and fun and active, going for, I live a minute from the White Rock Beach, so I'm always, going for beach walks. And so I'm just living a very healthy lifestyle when I'm at home. And as opposed to when I'm in Vegas or on the road, you know what it's like being stuck. And, you start with the good intentions. I'm going to work out every day. And then, your first session, 18-hour, 20-hour session, you're buried, and the last thing you want to do when you wake up is have a bowl of fruit and go for a run. You want to get back to the tables and get even, and before you know it, 60 days in a row go by, and you're getting no sleep. You don't know what the gym looks like. You're eating nothing but grease, and before you know it, and the stress, and all of a sudden you kind of, or for me anyways, I get in that attitude, I'll do it when I get home. I'll do it when I get home, and that's just not a healthy way to live. So hopefully I'll try and enter the series with some momentum and just put my health first all the time.
I was just going to ask you, do you think you'll be able to keep up the good habits that you've been doing, and do you kind of have a strategy for that? Because I know you like to play the cash games, and you want to play when the games are good, and I'm sure you've got your eye on a few events that you probably want to earn that third bracelet in. So what's your kind of strategy? Is it live a balanced lifestyle? What's your summer going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, I never really have a strategy as far as what I play. The tournaments are very grueling to me, and I like to play events that I enjoy more than anything. And, playing like an 8 or 10 game mix, those are sometimes fun, and, maybe a couple of those big no limits. But it's just kind of how I'm feeling. If I'm enjoying the competition, like the tournaments are more a competition, and if I'm enjoying sitting at the Rio for 3-4 days in a row, I might do that. But to lead more of a balanced life, obviously, cash games are kind of when I want to play them, and I'm not structured, and they're not, I don't have to set an alarm to get up, or I don't have to be told when I can be on break. I can just kind of wake up, hit the gym first, and then make my way into, Bobby's room or the Aria or wherever, and find myself a cash game. And if I get sick of it, or I want to, go for another workout, then I can, right? The tournaments are the ones kind of that force you to play 12 to 15 hours and operate on little sleep. And, so it, like I said, to try and answer, I guess, your question of my strategy, and I want to try and keep the role I'm on. I feel so much better just about everything, being fit and stuff, and it carries on not only at the poker table or on the rink or just in life, So
I mentioned you were a two-time bracelet winner, Greg. I wonder if there was a time in your life when bracelets were sort of important. It was a big deal. Once you win one, I guess it becomes less of a big deal. But it was also a time about sponsorship, and that kind of played into that stuff. How important are bracelets to you now when you go down there this year to the World Series? Is it something you're going to go, I'm going to go play that $2,500 no limit hold'em because I got a decent shot, or I'm going to go play in this big mix game over here? Like where's the priority for you with regards to bracelets nowadays?
Well, I'll be totally honest. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the hammer. As a poker player, as a hockey player, you want to win the Stanley Cup. As a poker player, you want to win a bracelet. And once you achieve that, obviously, if you're in the status where you have a ton of bracelets, maybe you want to go for the all-time, lead like Phil Hellmuth or something. But nowadays, honestly, I'm like you said, with the sponsorships being gone and with all that, the way poker's changed, it really doesn't mean as much to me. I don't care so much about the notoriety, and when I first was big into playing, everybody, how come I haven't seen you on TV? You want to win a bracelet, get a deal, make a TV show, make a final table, and it was kind of being in the who's who of poker and in the rankings, and I don't really care so much about that anymore. I feel that I've proven when I play, I do well in the tournaments, but they're such a grind, and unless you come in top three, they're just not really that financially rewarding. And so yeah, I've kind of lost my drive to play these tournaments as much. I'm sure I'll play a few of them, but I'd rather take pieces in thoroughbreds like your brother Dan Adema. It's more fun to just show up relaxed and have a beer and cheer.
So you're not even you don't even have the most bracelets on your beer hockey team.
I know that's
now you're just needling him so that he plays more. He's not going to see through your strategy.
Yeah.
Well, of all places, like my beer league team, I'm second in bracelets.
I hope that one of the few events you do play, you bink one, because you may or may not be on someone's $20 fantasy draft.
In the Pokercast.
Oh, here we go.
Has been drafted.
No, I mean. Yeah, I mean it really is tough to say. I mean, I could go in there, play the Colossal, and all of a sudden, go really deep and get the love for the tournaments back, and boom, before you know it, I'm at the Rio every day. But when people, I get the texts. I've already started getting the texts from people. Hey, what's your schedule looking like for tournaments? For exactly that reason, more for the 25K fantasy draft.
Sure.
I've been probably drafted the last 5 years, and people text me, and I don't want to put any pressure on myself, any added pressure, so I just tell them, I probably won't play too many tournaments, and if I do, then hey, it's a bonus,
So you mentioned you took a year off. I know you like to play the big mix games. I'm wondering if where your thought process is going back. I mean, a year is a fairly long time, given that we haven't been playing some of these mix games very long, and maybe a year in that year that you've been away, maybe guys that were terrible when you were playing with them before are now really good at this game. And I know maybe you'll hear from other people, whatever, but maybe are you worried about the fact that you're going to jump into those games, but likely, and be at a bit of a disadvantage off the bat?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going for a walk with Coach yesterday, and we were talking about exactly kind of what you're saying, and that it's been a year, and just how I try to explain to people how just the poker world has changed so much, where you used to, I compare it to like literally fish and shark in the ocean, where a shark would kind of swim around and just see pools and pools of fish, and he had his pick of the litter kind of, and a lot of times now when he's swimming around there, he's swimming for a long time and then finally sees movement, and it's another shark, and you kind of go your opposite ways, and then then you finally come across another moving creature, and it's another shark, and eventually kind of you got to battle the shark, and whoever's the stronger shark's going to win. And I feel like it's like that a lot at the poker table now, and you have to be able to compete against the best, and that's why, to me, what everybody kind of like, amongst the big mixed game players is a small pool, and obviously it's nice when you get people that are really good no limit players, that are intelligent people that get bored with no limit, that want to play the big mixed games. And for a little while, they're kind of fish and tunas in the game, but they're very intelligent people, so they learn the game. So eventually, everyone's kind of a good player. And I guess what separates the winners from the losers is what it comes down to is the discipline and being able to book losses and not being a sicko and turning a X amount unit loss into a double X amount unit loss just because you can't walk away a loser, or that type of thing. And quite often people always ask me, who's the best player in your game, and is it this guy, and I'll say, yeah, like if you want to talk about extra bets, this guy's a stud. But when he starts losing, his D and E game approach very quickly. And I guess the person that's going to do the best is maybe one that can just play his B plus game all the way through instead of having an A, a B, a C, and a D game, and kind of like that, I guess.
Gotcha. All right, let's talk about this. You've been to the World Series of Poker many years in a row. You've come and gone. You've seen people, I'm sure, that consider themselves sort of professional poker players, roll into Vegas, try and run it up, maybe bring 10 or 15,000 and try and take a shot. What do you think the best for a guy? Thinking about a guy who goes maybe for 2 weeks, he's going to the World Series, he's picked his sort of window, he's bringing maybe 10 or 15,000, and he wants to get into a couple of events. He's a poker player. What's your sort of advice to guys like that who want to make the best of what they have, and whether it's a split of cash games, terms, whatever? What do you see out there when you're looking at some of these guys?
Now you're talking about a kind of a recreational player that has a job or a business and enjoys to play.
It can be one of those guys, or it can be a guy who plays in his home cash game, and he's a 5-10 no limit player, and he's got a bankroll of 50, 60, 70,000, and a lot of those guys will just take 20,000 to the World Series and see what happens, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, when you're going to Vegas, this is the big leagues, and comparable to hockey all the time. You're in the NHL, and Vegas will eat you up, and whether it's the side tracks of all kinds of vices that are there. I mean, I always tell people, that are first year, I know a lot of people, like you said, kind of like that do pretty well in their home games or in their local games, and they're all talking about, they've been feeling really good and they've been owning their skills and they can't wait to go crush Vegas. And I'm like, you got to be real careful. I send them when they ask me where should I play, I say stay away from the Bellagio, stay away from the Aria. Yeah, it's fun, it's convenient, it's where the big shots hang out. But even the smallest of games are filled with tough players. I tell them, go look on the outskirts of Vegas and more social casinos where people are drinking and just for the cash games. And as far as the tournaments go, just go and have fun. And I always tell people, listen, you're planning to go into the toughest environment you've ever been in. Make sure that you can afford whatever you can lose. Play within your means. Don't get too carried away with ego, and just have some fun, and if you can kind of do those things where you're staying within your bankroll and being real selective. I think game selection is probably the key too. Not that they would know the players, but just making sure you're in games that you feel you can beat. Because if you're sitting at home in a game and there's 5 tough players, well, typically in Vegas there's going to be 8 tough players or 7. So it's just a step up, and people get eaten alive all the time in Vegas. And even if they handle their poker pretty well, they might get sidetracked by losing and go to the sports book and blast off on a game, or they might go into the pit and blast off on the blackjack table. And there's just so many ways that Vegas can get you.
Yeah.
What's that?
So, well, the main event, I want to ask you about the main event. For years and years and years, it was always, this paradox where it was the best poker tournament of the year. People would think, oh, the main event of the World Series, 10,000 to buy in. That's just going to be full of the best players. Well, no, it wasn't for a long, long time. And I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. It might be, it might not be. What's your sort of take on the main event and how it's sort of developed into, this year, say?
Well, probably from past experiences, I've always been a piece guy, and I've always loved to have lots of pieces of people in the main event because, like you said, it was everybody that's ever spelled poker was his dream to go play in the main event.
I've seen Greg walking around on day 4 with like a giant notepad, like going like he's just. It's great because Greg is the only they always say if you want to like be somewhere you're not supposed to be, just walk in like you own the place. And Greg is the king of that because he's got no media pass. He got no. Obviously, everybody knows who he is, and Greg's a big guy, but he's a big personality. He's just walking around like all the checking on every one of his horses. He's got spending like 5 minutes. Can I get you a drink or anything like? It's hilarious watching watching you sweat your horses late in the main event. It's the best time I've had.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I am fortunate like that. I built a pretty good rapport with a lot of the staff at the World Series, and yeah, like you said, I stroll in and people kind of just. Like you said, people, oh yeah, he's doing something here for us, or he must be working. No one gives me a hard time, and it is kind of nice when you're down to 45 people and you have 2 good friends deep, and everyone else is standing there with their binoculars, and I'm basically like right behind the masseuse and getting the play-by-play. But back to your question, I guess. I mean the main event used to be It just used to be such a fun tournament because you really had all kinds of characters, skill level, ages, sizes of people. Like it was really just you could go to your table and know nobody, and you could go to your table and know 3 people. I mean, it was the dream of all dreams to enter the main event. But I have to say, it's not so dreamy anymore. And I get to the table and I know, or at least recognize half the table, and the other guys that I don't recognize. 3 of them are 23 years old wearing a hoodie, and
that's fine.
Everybody's tough. It's not like No Limit is just so tough nowadays, and I'm not trying to be negative at all. It's just that I recognize things, and the players are tough. And before, you could once you got a hold of some chips, you could really take charge on day one, and table draws they still are very, very important. If you get a soft table, you can amass, because people don't like to bust on day one, and you can amass a big chip stack heading into day 2. But those easy tables that we speak of, they just don't exist too often anymore. And obviously I'll be playing the main event just because it's what we do, but it's just not like poker's just not like the olden days, with all the information, the tutorials and the schools, and the bad players just have either gone broke or quit, and you have to be better if you want to survive in this industry, and that's pretty much what everybody's done.
What's your deepest sweat in the main event of the World Series ever?
I'd probably have to say, one year I had 3 pieces of 3 people, and they came 17th, I think the 16th or 18th, and then 13th, and then that same year I had a piece of good old Chino Ream, who came in 7th. So,
and you got paid?
You got paid?
Yeah. I mean, I know Chino has a really bad reputation, but he's always been pretty good to me with the deals that we have and make and that sort of thing. And I've had guys go deeper in the main event that I've traded a piece with, like JC Tran and players like that, Grinder one year. But as far as just actually having a piece, Chino's probably the closest to. And I tell you, there's nothing like sweating at that main stage in November when you got a friend or a piece of a guy that's playing for 10 mil.
Yeah, I said it about it on the show. Chino just won a big, huge tournament, and I said it on the show. I'm like, well, at least he's trying to pay people back. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there not bothering to try and pay people back.
Yeah, he FaceTimed me after he won the tournament. I was sitting in the hot tub, and he you know, we might have had some business to take care of, but hey, he FaceTimed me from Florida to discuss it, and he says he had a much more peaceful life 3 days ago before he won the tournament because his minutes on his Verizon kind of shot through the roof. And yeah, he definitely. But hey, that's the thing about Chino and people. You know, it's not that I'm defending what he does at all. I do never condone people not living by their word or anything like that at all. If people know me, I work really, really hard on my reputation to always do the right thing. And so it's by no means am I condoning, you know, some of the things that Chino's done. But I think he's just sick. It's not a matter of malicious intent. You know, he always tries to do the right thing, and, you know, obviously trying and doing it are not the same thing. But he wins, and, I mean, he won whatever, he just won $700,000. I don't think he walked away with too much money. And, you know, he gave the guys that had the pieces their piece, and he went and paid everybody a little piece. But when you have, I don't know what he owes, but if somebody owes $3 million and wins $200,000 as your piece, you can't pay everybody back. So there's going to be unhappy people, and, you know, it's part of the business. People have to understand that.
Did you have a piece of JRB that time? Didn't he got heads up for a bracelet? Didn't he have like 90% of the chips? What was that story when wasn't he that close to winning a bracelet?
You know what? He was. I think he was playing heads up. Who did he play heads up with? He was getting heckled pretty good for sure. His crowd that he runs with, you know, are some pretty good poker players, Huck Seed and Joe Cassidy and some of those guys. And I remember, you know, they were giving him the gears pretty bad because, you know, people that know JRB, he's so flamboyant and so cocky and in a fun way, and you know, he had his chest sticking out pretty good when he had all the chips. And
it was Gordo.
We always call him in the cash game, win or lose, he's the same guy. But we're kidding because he's probably the biggest emotional player that exists in poker.
Yeah,
was Mike Gordinsky.
It was Gordo in the 50K heads up. Yeah, that's.
Oh, that was the 50K. No, I think he was heads up before.
Yeah, for another one.
Oh, sorry.
90% of the chips. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right,
I don't think
that's
the
one.
Gordinsky one.
Right. Okay. One more thing. You know, I hate to. Gregor, I've always been fond of you, but I heard a nasty rumor, and I hate rumors, and I want you to clear this up. I heard a rumor.
I know it. I can tell.
I heard a rumor. You know, I'm just saying, and not. I'm not going to say who said this, but I heard that you do some awful things sometimes. Is it true that you will sometimes go to a fancy steakhouse, order the nicest steak on the menu, and ask for it well done?
Oh, wait a second. It was me who told him that, and yes, it's absolutely true.
Oh no!
And not only that, hang on, I got a story. We go to the Bellagio Steakhouse. And Mules orders his $100 Kobe steak, whatever it was.
$400 Kobe steak.
Jesus.
He orders
you should be in jail.
Not just only burnt, a side of ranch to dip it.
Oh my goodness.
Slow down here. Slow down. Some people take longer to get a little more sophisticated, and I'll have you know, my buddy that comes over and hooks us up with some steaks quite often, he's got me not only from well done to medium well to medium plus to medium. He actually now does the medium rare, and I will never be going back.
Well, we can still be friends then. That's good.
The rumor is true. You know, and I am a huge ranch guy, but I do not use ranch on my steaks. And it's pretty bad. Now I know how to eat a good steak, and it's funny the way that when they're cooked so good. You don't need anything. You don't need barbecue sauce or anything. You don't need any kind of doctoring them up.
You just got to start with the good meat. That's it.
Melt them in their mouth. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate your time, buddy. Go win a bunch of money and a bracelet maybe too this year at the World Series. We'll see you down there.
Awesome. Yeah, good stuff, boys. And I'll be look forward to seeing you guys down there.
Thanks to Greg Mueller for joining us. Always fun to talk to him. We got to have him back on more often. He's always a fun guest to have.
Ranch steak.
Ranch and Kobe steak.
Don't try that at home.
How about some 140 or less?
I'm glad he admitted to it.
It's 140 characters. That's it. I love hashtags. I love all of them.
Terrence Chan
needs more than 140 characters to express himself.
140 or less.
All right, all three of us have some Twitter stuff to read off. Terrence, you want to go first?
Sure. This is timely because while we were talking to Kevmath, obviously the Twitter czar, the social media czar, who will be taking over the WSOP account. I'm not sure exactly when, but obviously during the WSOP. But he threw out a poll on Twitter, and of course he's a must follow on Twitter. All the information. And he asked, should the WSOP do a trial run of 4-color decks in a few events? For example, tourneys, cash, satellites, whatever. And this is something that I've been a big supporter of for a very long time. I think 4-color decks are way past in live poker are definitely need to be done. I'm surprised it's really taken this long. It's the standard.
So on the internet, for those that don't know, you can have a 4-color deck. Blue is clubs, right?
Blue is diamonds, green is clubs, red is hearts, and black is spades, just like they are on regular hats. But it makes things a lot easier, especially if you're playing non-Hold'em games, even if you're playing Hold'em. But if you're playing, if you're playing Omaha, if you're playing any kind of draw game, it's super helpful. It makes things a lot more accessible, I think, to people who also don't see nearly as well. Sure. And so he threw the poll out there. I think it was. I don't have it on me right now. I think it was about 70-20 in favor of the yes that 4-color decks should be in there.
70-20. What did the other 10 vote for?
I think 70-30. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'll find it. But the WSOP itself responded, and of course Kevin hasn't taken over that account yet, right? No. I'm not sure who's doing it exactly right now, but their response was, so at WSOP says, 2-color decks for us, and the reason is color blindness. Red, green, and yellow, blue are the 2 most common difficulties for colorblind folks. So their argument is that, you can't go to a 4-color deck because red and green are too similar for people, and yellow and blue are too similar for people.
Wait a second. Red and green are too similar, but red and red is similar.
Exactly. This is the same. So right now we have a situation where hearts are red and diamonds are red. So if you make this is insane logic. Just please say we're too cheap to print 4-color decks and we don't have the capacity to do it because we're not idiot. You've got red and black and black. That's insane. Wow. I mean, and then you're going to go, color blindness is the reason when you have, there's, I think 10% of the population is colorblind. This is a pretty significant amount. But you also have a significant amount of people that just can't see the suit, because they're nearsighted or the farsighted, or they just generally don't have good vision. I've seen, and I'm not just talking about Halabarsky here, I'm talking about a lot of people who really struggle seeing the cards. I mean, it's insane. The only good reason that I've ever thought of or conceived of not to have 4-color decks is that it's a little bit easier to read them if the dealer has a bad pitch. That you might be able to see somebody's cards while it's in the air. But, I mean, because, sometimes, there's a dealer will flash one high and somebody will say, oh, that's a red, 3 across or whatever like that. And, now you're basically just limiting it from 50% of the suits to that specific suit. So I guess that's...
So did you respond?
I did not respond yet, but that's only because I saw this while recording the show. And somebody already... And people have already pointed this out. Multiple people have responded saying... Duh. Basically what you said. Red and red are similar and black are similar. We're not stupid. Don't...
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, Roscoe,
not the best moment.
Sorry?
You had one.
No, I didn't. I don't think. But maybe there's the PokerCast haiku. Terrence threw that in there.
Oh, was it Terrence?
We'll let you read it. You are the official haiku reader, though.
Okay.
You're the official haiku reader of the PokerCast.
Oh, wow. It's such an honor.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just one rib, said Terrence, forgetting the whole Adam and Eve thing.
Hashtag PokerCast IQ. Yeah, it's a reference to Ross leaving the case rib on the table while we were in Vegas.
Just one rib.
But I will say, as biblical references go, if you could take a rib from a side of ribs and end up getting a whole pig, the way that the Adam and Eve story works, I would be down with saving the last rib.
You just plant it in a trough somehow and grow a pig.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
At Justice Hayes writes, please settle the difference between sets and trips. I know it, but I keep arguing with those who say they are the same. in quotes, they're the same hand, 3 of a kind, I say, but with the hugely different ramifications. Just give me ammo, please.
Okay, can I just stop and say, if you are playing with people who don't understand the difference between sets and...
tell them.
Yeah. You are in a good game. Don't fuck it up for yourself.
Yeah. This is one of those things where people, and we all do it from time to time, we have to be right.
Yeah. People want to be smart. You don't have to be smart. You just have to take the money. You don't have to be smart. Being smart is highly overrated.
He also asked a question. Also, please explain why defending the blinds is GTO. You get a discount on one earliest street, and then you're out of position. Yeah, I mean, if you lose a lot of money in the blinds, you're going to lose a lot of money overall.
Well, it depends on the game, right? Like, defending the blind is very different in, say, like Omaha 8 or better, or in triple draw, compared to defending the blinds in no limit hold'em 500 big blinds deep, or pot limit Omaha super deep. Like, that's a very different story, or so like I mean, the crazy, like, say you were playing no limit triple draw or something like that, you would not defend the blinds very loosely at all because you will get hammered.
Let's go over to the Ross report.
Sure glad he's all right. Listen, boy, you gotta pick your spots good. You gotta make hay while the sun shines. Hey, good. You dipstick!
It's time for a Roscoe report.
All right. So, remember...
How's your week at the internet tables, Roscoe?
You guys, it's pretty exciting.
But your path to the IPWOF, so that one day somebody can induct you into the IPWOF. How's that going?
I don't know if I'm good enough at math. I moved up to 50 cents a dollar last night. It's pretty good. It's
Are we going to run into each other? This will be funny. If there's a hand, if we're
I play 50 cent dollars sometimes. We could have a 3-handed hand.
Oh man, that would be fun.
I play 50 cent dollars.
This would be intense.
Yeah, you guys are getting 3-betted. Yeah, it's a step up. I've noticed the players are a little bit more aggressive. They know how to fold a little bit more, and we're playing for black chips now. Pretty much every all-in's a black chip.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, you are.
So sometimes stacks of black chips. And
do you guys have run it twice turned on?
Only when I think I'm getting it in bad.
Oh well, I just have it set as the default option. So
yeah, when I'm jamming with a draw. And I know I'm behind.
That's so stupid.
I turn
Why
it on.
Why do you do that? That's so dumb. Why?
Adam said that too. But
he's right.
I guess you're just getting it in bad twice. But I mean, you get in those spots where you're like, I don't want to go all in, but I have to. And
so I looked for 2 seconds one time to where the run it twice was, and then I stopped looking and I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally legit. That's a better reason.
It's also you can when I was watching Jay Nandez, once he got like 200-300 big blinds deep, he would turn it on. If you're going to play like a huge pot, you can reduce variance a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, also remember to follow along in the show thread. Go there on your mobile device or on your computer now and follow along with the hands. I will post them in the thread. And the PLO Quick Pro concept of the week is just moving up in stakes.
That's a concept?
It's a concept.
All right.
Yeah. Dealing with your new stake.
I didn't get to that concept.
So, Terrence, you have a pot limit Omaha hand?
Sure. This is from the Scoop Medium Mixed No Limit Hold'em, half pot limit Omaha event. I believe that was on Monday, or maybe it was Tuesday. Tuesday morning, early, well before either of you guys woke up, I'm sure. So it's reasonably early into the tournament. It's the 120-240 level, somewhat awkward level, and I have a stack of 21,000. I believe we starting stack of 10,000, so I doubled up already at this point. I got dealt the ace, jack, 10 with a suited ace, so 4 to a Broadway. This is played 6 max, so under the gun raises, and I decide to call, and it folds back to the big blind, who also calls. So we're 3 ways to the pot. There's 3 ways to the flop, with a pot of a little under 2,000 in it. The flop comes Queen of Spades, 9 of Clubs, 7 of Spades. So I have an open-ended straight draw as well as the nut flush draw. The big blind checks. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. the big blind checks. The pre-flop aggressor bets about 2/3 of the pot, bets 1344. I decide to call here. I don't know if you guys like raising or calling better.
I think that calling is good in a tournament because it reduces variance, and I think that's what you want to do.
Yep.
Just not bloat the pot with a draw. But in a cash game, yeah, I would.
Well, it's just a math problem, right?
I would pot.
I mean, bloating the pot. It's. I think I raise in this spot. You're playing what, 80 big blinds deep or so?
About that, yep.
It's 1344 in the flop into 1920. Yeah, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe flatting.
I guess the thing is that when you raise this, like the only hand that's really going to get it in against
Queens.
you is queens. I mean, maybe it would be nice to be able to like make nines or sevens fold or something like that. That would be great. And that would be the really big advantage to playing it in that manner. But
I think that you're going to run into nines less often. And tell me if I'm wrong here, because you have some blockers to pocket nines hands that would call.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you are definitely.
So yeah,
and just the fact under the gun raise. So how often does under the gun really have nines? So yeah,
right.
That's a very valid point. So yeah, I mean, I think generally keeping the pot small is fine here. I think we're never going to be dramatically ahead. That's for sure. I mean, he can't have anything that's dominated by what we hold. So
right.
So I call, and the big blind folds, and we are now heads up. The turn card is a 10 of hearts, so we're queen 9-7 and a 10 on the turn, which is not exactly what I was looking for, except I do block the nuts now.
So you have two blockers. You have the ace, jack, 10.
Right.
The nuts is now king jack.
So I have two of the jacks in my hand, which is nice. So it's check to me, and so this is a situation that you don't really encounter too often in No Limit Hold'em, where the turn is bad for you, but it's good for your bluffs, just because of the blocker situation. So I now choose to bet the entire pot. So we have 4,600 in the pot, and I have about 16,000 behind or something like that.
Was that specifically to set up the river bet? Like, what was the full
exactly?
pot?
That's exactly right. I think I have 14,000 left after this, and I kind of did the reverse math and figured if I bet the pot here and he calls, we're going to have almost exactly a pot-sized bet left in my stack. So I bet, and he calls, which not the result I was hoping for, but here we go. The river completely bricks. It's an offsuit 5, and he checks, and so I guess the question is, do I need to empty the clip right here in this tournament? And just
here's the problem. You've got the ace of spades blocker, so he likely doesn't have a flush draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the nut spade draw. So there's way more made hands in his range than draws.
Yeah.
Given that you have the two jacks, you have the nut spade draw. It seems like he's got queen, some sort of weird king's hand. I mean, this is a really tough one. I don't even know, sitting here with 10 minutes to look at a hand, what I do. But I think once you bet the turn, I think you follow through the river there. So yeah, I think I'm just going to bomb the river. I don't think I'm going to.
Ross, we know you're bombing the river. I don't even need to ask you, right?
Well,
I'm not going to bet full.
Yeah, I mean, when he checks to you, I think that's the only option. There are hands that you can get to fold. He could be just keep being sticky with like 3 pair.
Yep.
He could be. He could have like a hand like king 10 of spades, where it got shot in a flush draw that he thinks is too good to fold. So I think, yeah, I mean, there's no way he's checking of a straight here on the river. I think you have to bet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, after I've already potted it for him on the turn, I think the only, he could possibly have the second nut straight at Jack 8, but again, that's what blockers are for. So I did just fire the whole pot, and he thankfully folded, so it worked out. But so that was the one good thing I did in this tournament, and then I blasted it all later, as we talked about off the top of the show. So I thought that was a fun spot that you don't get to play in No Limit Hold'em, where you have a very good flop, but then the turn is bad, but then your hand just kind of gets turned into a bluff. Without any kind of showdown value.
All right, I got a hand. I played the Scoop 13. We talked about this event with Brian last week. The dealer's or the player's choice. This is the 13 medium, $82 no limit hold'em, 8 max progressive knockout. I played a hand. I don't know if you guys have it pulled up there.
Yep.
But I thought it was kind of interesting because I tweeted it out. I boomed it out on Twitter, and that Pope told me that, and I didn't even consider it before he said it. He told me that looks like a bad call, and I want to see what you guys think about this hand. So the blinds are 100, 200. I have 7,800. So I've got about 39 big blinds, and I'm in the cutoff with the queens. The pre-flop goes raise under the gun to 500, and then 3-bet to 1,400 right beside me. And I decide to cold 4-bet to 3,400, with 4,400 left behind. Folds around to the original raiser under the gun, who has both of us covered, and he ships it all in. And the guy right beside me snap calls too. Now I'm left with the queens in this spot, and I call. I'm up against aces and ace-king. I bink a queen, so I end up winning the pot. But I'm wondering what you guys think about the pre-flop play specifically.
Well, that's the only street. I guess there's two decision points as whether...
I played the turn and river perfectly.
Yeah, you managed not to accidentally...
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Kick the server over.
I think it was just a good play in general, considering there were 3 aces dead and you had 2 queens left.
I'm confused at which part of this that you're supposed to have played differently. I don't think you could have done anything differently. I think folding in the end would be insane getting 5-1, 4-1 at least. I think that would be a really terrible play. I'll tell you one thing. I folded queens like twice in World Series tournaments and been like always in multi-way pots and been wrong both times. It's kind of funny, but I definitely don't think with this kind of stack that folding queens is conceivable in either action.
What about flatting with flatting the 3-bet?
I think that's reasonable. I definitely wouldn't have a problem with that.
I think in medium and low buy-in tournaments, I might be wrong here, but entertain me. I'll usually just ship like for a fairly large amount because you can get called. It looks like ace-king a lot, and people will look you up with smaller pairs. I think that a small 4-bet looks stronger than just shipping it.
I agree. Actually, I was playing. Speaking of World Series event, I think it was like a $1,500 event. Eddie Sabat was at my table, and a situation very similar to this came up where it was 3-bet to him, and he just shoved like 75 big blinds with aces, and he got called by I guess it was jacks or something like that. And then nobody said anything, so Eddie wins all the money, and I just kind of made a mental note in my head like, oh, he's not afraid that if he just overshoves the pot that people are going to fold. Like, he's willing to do this. So I would agree with Ross on that. Like, actually just making it 3,400 actually just looks really strong, because when are you ever going to make it 3,400 and fold? Like, with what hand could you possibly make it 3,400 and fold with? So yeah, I mean, just shoving it all in seems reasonable too. Flatting also seems fine. The problem with flatting is you let in the original raiser for pretty cheap just to snap you off of the set or whatever, one overcard or that kind of thing.
It depends. The shoving thing is, I think it works more in smaller buy-in tournaments versus certain opponents, but I don't think that you're going to pull that off versus, maybe it would work versus good players too. I don't know.
Yeah. The next hand is from a 8-game hand that I played at PokerStars this week. This is a Omaha high-low hand. People have been asking for some of these hands. And this was a 4-8 mix game. Do you guys got the hand up?
Yep. Yeah, and I saw when you tweeted it.
Oh, cool. Okay, so here's the hand. Starts out, I'm under the gun +1. The under the gun player folds. I have the queen 10, 9, 8 with the queen 8 of spades. And, we're playing Omaha high-low. So, and I'm playing in a cash game against players that you end up playing a long time against. So you can't just sort of muck this hand and play your ace deuce 3 or your ace 2 3 4 whatever and raise those hands up only, because you get really easy to play against at some point. So I mix in some of these hands, and this one's a perfectly fine one for me to mix in with a raise. So I raise it again. I've got the queen 10 9 8 with the queen 8 of spades, and I get the call right behind me, and the both blinds call. The flop comes down king jack 6 all spades. I've got the queen 8 of spades again, so I flop the second nuts. It's check to me. Oh, sorry, it's not check to me. The small blind checks. The big blind bets. I raise, and the small blind calls 2 bets cold, and the big blind just flats my raise. The turn is the 5 of diamonds. It doesn't change anything except it brings a low draw. It goes check. The big blind leads out again. I raise again, and the small blind calls again. And then the big blind just flats again my raise. So we get to the river is the deuce of diamonds, king, jack, 6 of spades, 5 deuce of diamonds. I still have the second nut high, but now there's a low out there. It is checked to me, and I bet again on the river. The small blind folds, and the big blind calls, and I win the pot with the queen high flush.
How does that even happen? Like, how did this pot get to be that big?
It's a lot of bets.
And nobody has a low, and nobody can beat a queen high flush. That is.
Well, when you don't get raised, you definitely just keep firing away.
Well, that's the key point of the hand. So,
it's a position. It's the value. It's definitely a lesson about the value of position because you get that extra bet in on the river, or bets in on the river.
Well, even on the turn, when I raise the flop and I just get flatted by the guy who let out, it's not nut flush, right?
Right.
So I took that information again on the turn. It happened. He led. I raised, and he just flatted again. So now I know I'm good. And the small blind obviously had some sort of set or 2 pair type high hand trying to fill up. And the big blind ended up having 3-3-10 jack with the 10-3 of spades. So I ended up winning the whole pot from him. But yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting given that I don't have the nuts, and in a game like this, when you go to flop 4-way action and you make a big pot, it's pretty hard to win it without the nuts. But if you use the information that you're given in the hand, that you can discern where you're at. Like, I had no question at all that I
30 big bets pot. Like, yeah, that's kind of insane. You scoop a 30 big bet for plot with the second nuts on
in Omaha. They'll split. Yeah. All right, let's get on to Roscoe hand.
Okay, here. Actually, I'd like to tell you about a hand that I played earlier that's been bothering me.
Okay.
I don't have it right on hand here. I don't want to start Poker Tracker because I think my computer will crash. But so I had double suited aces versus an aggressive player. We're both 200 big blinds deep at 50 cents a dollar. Now, I raised to 350, got 3-bet to 12 on the button. I 4-bet to, I think it's like 37.
Yeah.
And then he calls, and the flop is king, queen, 10. So I checked to him, and he bet out like a quarter pot. So I raised like almost pot size to like 75.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have the ace blockers to the straight. And he calls.
Yeah.
And on the turn, I have 100 left. There's about 200 in the pot, and I ship it in. And
he calls with kings.
So here's
not
the thing.
with kings.
Not with kings.
He's got you squarely on aces pre, right?
Yeah.
He's defined your hand very narrowly. So for you to have the nuts on this, let's say he's got even king queen. He doesn't even need to have a set of kings or whatever. He's got you on aces. And it's hard to have a 10 there. Like,
no, it's a jack.
A jack.
I think. Ace.
Jack is the nuts.
Sorry, is it
king queen 10?
Yeah. So it's pretty hard to have the nuts, right? Like, even though you have the 2 aces, you've only got 2 other cards, and he knows that you have the blockers. Like, you've got the aces. He gave me the aces.
Yeah.
He knows that you can think, oh, look, I got the blockers to the nuts. I can go crazy. So put it this way: when I have this type of hand and I'm the other guy and I flop top set or medium set or middle set or 2 pair, whatever, I'm not as quick to give the guy, yes, I know he's got the aces, but I'm not as quick to give him the nuts because he uses those 2 aces as blockers.
Right. I don't think anybody is saying that the guy is going to fold 2 kings or 2 queens here. I don't think anybody will. So he's going to make that argument. I guess the question is, how light will he call you? And so how light did he call you?
With everything that beats aces, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's going to call with.
I mean, you're going to call with like queen 10.
Yeah. Well, he had queen 10, but he had queen, jack, 10-8. So he had one jack blocker.
Yeah.
And I hit my ace on the river, but it filled him up, so that was annoying. But that was the biggest pot I've played so far.
It's an interesting hand, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. The check, because I have done when I flop like the nut flush in a 4-bet pot, I go for the check raise on flop sometimes to just collect a little bit more dead money and try and build a pot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I tried it here, and it didn't really work out. Okay, so this first hand, maybe you want to read it, Adam?
You're in middle position. We're playing 50 cent a dollar. You have 185. You have 185 in your stack. You are dealt the 6, 7, 8, 9 with the 9, 7 of clubs. You raise. There's a fold in front of you. You raise to 350. Everybody folds except the big blind. The flop comes 10, 7, 4 with 2 hearts. Again, you have the 6, 7, 8, 9. So you flop middle pair, gut shot, and kind of a wrap, right? You got full wrap, dummy wrap. You got the dummy wrap. Big blind checks. You bet 469 into 750. The big blind calls. The turn's the 5 of hearts. So now it is 10, 7, 4, 5 with 3 hearts. Big blind checks. You make the straight. You make the nut straight and bet 10 into 16. He calls you. The river's the 6 of diamonds. So you end up making a bigger straight, but effectively doesn't change a lot. Pot's 38, and you don't have his action. Did he check there? Is this the question or?
Well, no, I just cut off. I cut off on the bottom what the action was. I just wanted to know what you do.
Sure. Here, I'll tell you mine first. So, and then Terrence can say what he thinks. I think once you get check called in the turn, you're not up against the nuts. The 6 rolls off. You have showdown value with the 8-9 against sets and stuff, but you're up against a flush a lot of the time, I think. So, some sort of like queen high flush that's calling you down. I think a HUD here is pretty important with when you can look at some stats for this guy on the river and how often how he acts in the river on deciding what to do here. If he checks to me, I think I'm probably going to fire through here again, representing the flush. But I'm not going to, I don't know. If he bets into me, I'm going to fold. So, I guess that's sort of my thoughts.
I think Adam's missing the key thing here, which is we have a 6 of hearts blocker for the straight flush, which means that we can bet, and if he check raises, we 3-bet jam on him. No, I mean, I think I'm checking it back here if he checks to me. I don't think there's real, there's a decent enough chance that we have showdown value here, right? Like we can be up against 3-pair, we can be up against sets and stuff like that. So I'm happy with the size of the pot, the way it is now. If he bets, I'm probably actually just going to fold.
Yeah, if the guy, that's what I was thinking. But my question, the river plays pretty standard, I think. I check back a lot unless
I think I fire 3 there sometimes in the river. I know we're playing against these guys a lot, and I want to get paid off when I have big flushes, and if he's going to call me down with the 10 high flush or whatever that he's going to call me with, and I don't mind that too much, so I don't know.
But you're going to have ace blockers too sometimes, and you can just use those as your bluffs instead of using your straights as bluffs, right? So.
Yeah, that's true.
So
you were thinking more of the bet on the turn?
Yeah, because John does say in PLO Quick Pro that firing static turns is profitable.
Right.
And it does work a lot with the flush fills, even if you have like no blockers.
And you're just making it fold as equity, right? Like if he just has like 2 crappy pair, he's going to fold like 100% of the time. Here, right? Like if he just randomly has... And there's a lot of just 2-pair hands here,
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that concept a little bit.
Yeah. I like the bet on the turn.
Okay. Cool. Anyways, I check back. He had like a 10 high flush.
All right. Hand number 2. You're in the button with $114. You are dealt the 3, 4, 5, 7, the 3, 7 of spades. The 3, 7 of clubs. The 4, 5 of spades.
One of the more ugly double suited wraps you'll see. The 7, 5, 4, 3.
Maybe the ugliest.
This is Joe Ingram's favorite hand.
Okay, so that's for advertising, probably. Anyways, there's a fold. There's a raise before you. Again, you're on the button. There's a full pot raise, a fold, and you flat on the button. The big blind now 3 bets to 7. He clicks it back. The original raiser now makes it 25, and you call, and the big blind calls.
Cold call that format.
Yeah. So let's talk about that first. I mean, I don't necessarily mind the flat pre, like the original raise, just because I think I might use this hand to represent a whole bunch of other hands, just to make, constantly be making life difficult for people when I'm on the button. But I think once it goes 3-bet, 4-bet, I'm mucking that pretty quickly. Yeah, I understand their hands are representative of high cards, but they're, high cards also win a lot of pots. So
Especially when it's 4-bet pre and there's not much money behind after that. There's like one pot-sized bet left.
Terrence, are you folding there?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so the flop comes, as played, comes 6-6-5 with 2 hearts. You flop 2 pair and a wrap and a backdoor flush draw. The big blind checks, middle position bets full pot, 73. You go all in for 89, and you get the middle position calls the extra $2 to win the big pot and is all in. You don't have the results here. But yeah, I mean, obviously once you get to that flop, I think you're probably committed.
Yeah.
But again, I'm folding pre, so.
Yeah. The only thing that makes this call slightly plus EV is the chance that they both have aces, and then I'm like 75%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's plus EV if, right.
If I get in aces versus kings, all high cards, I have great equity. But, yeah, when the other player just folds, then it's not so great.
No. What happens?
The guy actually had like ace 10 or ace 10-6 or something, so he flopped trips. But I actually he had no flush draw, so I was still like 50%.
Right. Your straight outs are alive because he doesn't have cards that are around the 6. So,
yeah. So I bricked, but whatever.
Okay.
All right. And
Should we do one more?
Yeah.
Okay. You're on the button again. This same stakes. You have $103 in the spot. And again on the button, you are dealt the King Queen 4 with the Queen 4 hearts. There's a raise in front, a min raise in front of you to 2. You make it 750. The big blind calls the 3-bet cold, and middle position calls as well. So 7-5 deuce is the flop. 7-5 of clubs, deuce of hearts. 23 in the middle. You have an overpair and a backdoor flush draw. First of all, let's talk about that raise pre. Min raise open. I'm going to raise that pretty much every time.
Yeah, that's why I did it. I would versus a pot size raise. I would just flat kings in position a lot.
Right. Yeah, because you're a lot of times looking to.
But I want
to
isolate the weaker players.
I think that's fine. Just given that you're on the button. If you were in a different position, maybe not.
Okay, the flop comes again, 7-5 deuce with the 7-5 clubs, deuce of hearts.
And it was a regular that just cold called out of the big blind.
Okay, so it's checked to you on the button. You bet 14 into 23. The big blind calls the 14.
I might just check this one back.
A fold. So that's interesting. You say it's a regular in the big blind. He calls the 3-bet, and then he calls your bet on the flop. Like, what kind of hand do you give him there? Bad aces?
He could just have like a 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Good, yeah.
I don't think he has aces there, because why wouldn't he just cold 4-bet if he had aces?
Well, because I don't know.
Even bad aces, if he cold 4-bets, that's enough money to get in the flop that he could just stick it in on the flop and not feel too bad about it. So I don't think he has that. Yeah, but I mean, top pair with sidecards is reasonable. Flush draws, combo flush, straight and flush draws. There's still a lot he can kind of have there. I think I might check this one back on the flop 3 ways.
Okay, so the turn comes to 3 clubs, brings the flush. Again, 7-5 deuce flop, 3 of clubs in the turn, bringing a flush. Check to you. You bet 22 and are flatted with the 22. The river is the jack. He checks, and I think I'm checking behind 100% of the time here.
So notably, Ross had the king of clubs, which I'm not sure that was mentioned, but obviously this hinges on what you think the value of the king of clubs blocker is. I don't tend to place a lot of high value personally on king blockers.
No.
So yeah, I probably would have given up on this pot a while ago, personally.
Roscoe?
Yeah. So I did end up giving up after tanking because I thought. I mean, there's a slight chance that he's trapping me with the nut flush, and I'm not sure if he's going to fold a smaller flush, but I really did want to go all in because I set up just the right amount of bet on the turn to have a big bet on the river. But he actually was being super spewy and called out of the big blind with the ace-king 8-4.
Okay.
And it looked me up on the turn with the straight when the flush came in. And then, just tried to get to showdown, so...
That's the second nut straight, or the third nut straight or something like that, right? Yeah. Well, all right, well, make a note. That's when you double-click and make a note.
Nice.
That they call you down like.
Play.
All right.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's one more if you want to, if we have time.
Okay. Let me just find it. This is hand number 4. You are in the cutoff. Again, if you've sent $1, you start the hand with $107. You have the King 6-8 with the King 8 of hearts. There is a raise in front of you. Again, a min raise. You flat the min raise, and everybody else folds. 2 to the flop. King Queen 5. King Queen of diamonds, 5 of hearts. You flop top set. There's a bet in front of the guy. Bets 2 into 5. You raise to 10, and he flats. The turn is the 10 of hearts. So now it's King, Queen, 5, 10, 2 hearts, 2 diamonds. And you are checked to, you bet 15, and he calls. River is the 7 of spades. Kind of breaks off. There's 56 in the middle. You are checked to, and you bet half pot into that river. Yeah, I mean, I think Jack 9's really unlikely, unless it's 9-10 Jack, I guess, is a possibility. It's that, you're going to get check called with there.
Ace Jack's a straight too.
But yeah, you would have
Ace Jack, you would have heard about it. Yeah.
Right.
Especially in the turn when, the double flush draw gets there. So I think, you're up against, the only hand you lose to is Jack 9.
Yep.
And how much is he calling? I mean, I guess I like the river bet. You're betting about half pot and the river a little less than half pot. Because I think you're gonna get called by queens or.
I agree, because the presence of 2 missed draws makes it much more likely. 2 missed flush draws makes it much more likely people will call you down light here.
Exactly.
So yeah, even conceivably, I mean, King Queen's not that likely because you have 2 kings, but yeah, there's conceivably 2 pair hands, but Queens is most likely the hand that we're going to get targeted by.
Right.
Queens 5s maybe, and but yeah, I mean, sometimes you are going to get shown Jack 9 here, I think, because there are a lot of combinations of Jack 9, because just the fact that there are, when we're talking about strictly combinatorics, there's 16 combinations of Jack 9 in the deck that you can possibly have. So, but I don't know what I think John has always said, if you if you don't value own yourself once in a while, you're probably missing value bets. So this is, I think this is a reasonable value bet.
Yeah, I like it. What happens?
He did have queens, so I was hoping that my bet on the turn would induce a ship from a strong draw or something. That was that was kind of the plan with the sizing on the turn.
You probably had bad luck with the 10 of hearts on the turn. I think if a lot of cards roll off there, you probably get check raised there.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's a 7 of hearts instead.
He had some bad queens.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, we got a ton of other stuff to get to, but I think we'll probably leave it to next week. We've got some stuff from the comments, questions thread, some other emails. So in the new segment, I think people seem to enjoy the thought of us doing that new segment. How much would it take?
Although apparently it's not original.
Yeah. Yeah, Wilbury Twist pointed out that they did it on Poker Road Radio a bunch of years ago, so which I don't remember. Maybe subconsciously I remembered that or something, but there was some pretty good
No,
examples.
I mean, they probably invented the idea, like most poker podcasts seem to invent the entire concept of whatever they're doing.
Right.
But keep sending stuff in, because we still love the old interactions. I want to jump in one quick correction. I Googled it now, and Las Vegas Ubers are now allowed to pick up from casinos. This I guess it started happening late last year, but yeah, you can get an Uber to a Las Vegas casino. I hate spreading bad information, so I mentioned that I guess an hour and a half ago. But anybody wants to jump on the forum and tell me I was wrong, well, I probably deserve it. But yes, you can be picked up. They've got designated spots for Ubers, apparently. I'm looking on the Las Vegas
where the cab drivers throw their trash.
I guess, yeah. It's lasvegas.ubermovement.com. Seems to be where you can find out where to pick up an Uber on the Las Vegas Strip. So the tenuous relationship between the Las Vegas Taxi Cab Authority and Uber seems to have found some sort of stalemate or truce.
The Taxi Cab Authority is also the people trying to prevent four-color decks from entering the World Series.
Probably. And everything else that I love and hold dear.
All right, we got some thank yous. Kevmath, we got to thank for joining us this week to talk about the upcoming World Series of Poker. Greg Mueller for joining us and giving us his take on what he's going to be up to down there. Terrence, you guys, thanks for getting together this week. And everybody out there for listening to the show, thanks so much. Again, hop into the forum threads and give us some feedback, and also sign up for that World Series of Poker Fantasy League that we got going.
And tell me what email you sent your money from.
Yeah, we need that.
Or where you sent Stars money.
Indeed. All right. Thanks to everybody this week. We will talk to you next week.
Yeah, that's at least for 8 weeks. That'll be my task.
What is that?
Something happened there, Roscoe.
That's not me.
What in the world is that?
Might be Kevin.
I'm still here.
Still can.
Did some sort of crazy jet engine take off next to you?
Yes.
Let me do that again.
And I like it better this way. I like it better when you just say viewer.
Because I'm such a Letterman.
It's a running gag. It's a great running gag.
Okay.
Let me do that again.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 Pokercast has been presented to you by the Pokerstars VIP